Wood chippers, impossible missions, Mother Nature being a real bitch, dirty fucking toilets, needing teepee for your bunghole, erotic sex in airport garages, the password being nipple, Jamie Kennedy doing Shakespeare, the unknown landline phone call, the catchiest song in movie history, really believable burn makeup, eating French fried potatoes, getting your ass kicked by Bob Barker, being so money, being shown the money, MJ being outacted by a cartoon rabbit, getting by, revising Oscars, looking ahead, the day you die. This is 1996, folks. I am your host, Andrew, and I welcome you back to the Revisionist Almanac, the show that gets into the time machine, takes a deep dive into past Academy Awards ceremonies, and determines what the voters got right, and more importantly, what they got wrong. Now, I have three amazing guests here with me tonight, two of which you'll recognize from the season already. Up first, folks. I am your host, Andrew, and I welcome you back to the Revisionist Almanac, the show that gets into the time machine, takes a deep dive into past Academy Awards ceremonies, and determines what the voters got right, and more importantly, what they got wrong. Now, I have three amazing guests here with me tonight, two of which you'll recognize from the season already. Up first, she is 1/3 of the Holy Trinity of podcasting over at 1001 by 1. She was on the 1994 episode back in July, and of course, stole the show. It's your favorite Scream Queen and mine, Britt Reinholz-Hobson. Britt, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I just really love living in the 90s, apparently, because I was on 94 and I'm back for 96.
Yes, and we're shooting this in October, so I apologize for breaking up your spooky season watches for all this 1996 mess we've been in.
I mean, I gotta say, it's been really weird trying to fit in all of the horror movies that I want to watch, and then also all of these, I don't know, like family dramas that we've watched for this season, or this episode. It's been a weird mix, but I've enjoyed it.
You made it through. You survived. You rewarded yourself last night, I understand, by buying a video game to take your mind off things.
I did. It's the cutest video game ever, and you get to play as Zelda, so I'm happy.
Well, thanks for being back, Britt. Really appreciate having you here again.
Thank you for having me.
And next up, he helped this show set sail on its maiden voyage all the way back in January. He's been kind enough to return for another episode. He is the creator. He is the host of the renowned Best Picture cast and my favorite dick in a hat. It's Kieran B. Kieran, thanks so much for being back tonight.
Andrew, I'm back inside the walls of Revisionist Almanac. Here we go. It's been too long. It's been probably 10 episodes. This episode 11. Yeah, so it's been a bit. It's good to be back here, at Rev Almanac, where we take Oscars away from Leo and give them to Richard Kind for recording his voice over his morning coffee. I don't know. We'll see if the walls of Rev Almanac, at least on my side, will be padded by the end of this thing. But I'm here to either be the resident heel or babyface, depending on what your opinion are. Probably the heel for most. So.
I love the shots fired right out of the gate at the last episode. At least that wasn't my pick, but I appreciate the bing bong shots right there. Oh,
the question is Richard Kind, if you quizzed him on the street, would he remember the name of that character? My guess is he might not.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Oh, man. Okay, and last but certainly not least, making his Almanac debut, he's the creator and the host of CineMusts, one of my favorite podcasts that digs into movies to determine if they're worth recommending to everyone, to trusted friends, or to nobody at all. Please give a warm welcome to Myke Emal. Myke, I am so happy to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be here, Andrew. How's that True Coat holding up?
We're doing okay.
Yeah, real good there?
Yes. All right, well, as a reminder, this show looks back on past Academy Awards ceremonies with the luxury of hindsight to determine what should have won for Best Picture, Best Director, and the 4 acting categories. And before we start things off, I hope you'll take time to rate and review the channel on whatever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, as well as finding and following the show on every social media platform using the handle Rev Almanac. All right, 1996, people. So for those that aren't familiar, the Best Picture winner that year was The English Patient. Before we dive into the 6 categories, we're going to take a moment and speak to the year as a whole. This is always a good chance to get the hot takes in right out of the gate, set the tone for the evening. So without potentially spoiling anything coming later, I want to get your assessment of the year as a whole on prep. Britt, let's start with you. Now, in 1996, Britt, you talked about how many Hallmark movies there were. We're only a couple of years removed from 1994 for this 96 episode. Did the Hallmark movies get any better a couple years later?
No, I don't think the Hallmark movies got better. I didn't find as many Hallmark movies. I did find 3 in the batch, which I can say now, or I can save for later, because I did make a
please say now.
So films that felt like they were Hallmark movies to me, and this is of course my opinion. If you like these movies, amazing. I'm so glad for you. I like Tetsuo the Iron Man, so like we all have different opinions. So Marvin's Room. That is a Hallmark movie to me. Shine. And The Mirror Has Two Faces. Those 3 were just the 3 that I was like, what is happening right now? But that is, again, just my opinion.
So, Kieran, Myke, do either of you want to weigh in on the nature of Marvin's Room, Shine, and The Mirror Has Two Faces? Did you enjoy them? Do you agree with Britt, Hallmark movies?
We'll have questions that'll come up that I'll use to those words to answer with. So I'll hold off now for this.
What about you, Myke?
Yeah, I think I'll follow suit there. I think that's a good call.
Okay. Well, Britt,
Absolutely fine.
aside from the Hallmark movies, how did you find prep for 96? Did you have fun with it?
I did. I actually had a lot of fun with it. I enjoy these preps, like we were talking about before, because I dive into movies that I probably would never have watched before. Like I had never seen Jerry Maguire, and I had no intention of ever watching it. And so I had to watch it for this, which was really nice. And it was actually one of those films that I assumed I would hate, and I didn't. So I find that this is broadening my the movies that I will watch, which is great. I did think that like there was a common theme throughout this year, and that was that everybody's miserable and nobody is living their best life. That's kind of what I got from most of the films that we watched, or that I watched, that we will be discussing. And we also had some pretty revolutionary films that came out in 96. We have Fargo. We have Ghost in the Shell. I know it was like released in Japan in 1995, but it didn't make to the States until 1996. And that is an incredibly influential film. And we also had Scream. So this was a really monumental year. But other than those films, I feel like there weren't a bunch of standouts, even rewatching, that I was like, oh, I'm going to need to go back to this, at least in the Oscar categories. I was more drawn into the action movies and the Independence Days and those kind of things. Those are the ones that I remember more so than what I ended up watching for this episode.
Kieran, what about you? How did you find 96 prep?
I had a lot of fun with this project. I found the year surprisingly deep in across the board as far as genres go. There were your more typical acting showcases that the Oscars tend to lean towards. There was your true blockbuster, fill the summer theater movies. There were some period pieces. There were some adaptations of plays. There were some fun horror. Some sports movies. It was a real, to me, they covered a good basis here in 1996. And I had a lot of fun revisiting it. It was a lot deeper of a year than I expected it to be. I had in my head that this year, for some reason, was like an in-betweener year with the 90s. But this was, I was pretty satisfied. I was happy I started my prep early enough so I could space things out where there was never a cram going on. There were some unenjoyable experiences, of course, and there were some pleasant surprises too. So I liked it. It was very clear though that this was 1996. Like it was not. It's a different time in filmmaking. It clearly was. Like this year felt very smack mid in the 90s.
Oh my God, I totally agree.
There's a couple of movies I'll mention shortly that felt entirely specific to one year, 1996, and they couldn't have been made any other point in time, but I'll mention those later. Myke, what about you? How'd you find prep on the whole?
So being my first time on Rev Almanac, I really didn't space things out great because my prep journey went like tons of fun up front, big slogs in the middle, and then a lot of existential crisis at the end with a tiny bit of fun I had purposefully saved. I think I want to echo a lot of what Britt said. I had a way a much better time with like the genre stuff. The big high caliber, the Oscar stuff, really homeworky for me on this, and still some good stuff in there, some things that I've been meaning to get to for forever. Like I got a lot of things from my list of shame checked off thanks to this. But I felt like 96 was a year with very few like cream of the crop stuff. A lot of like really good stuff. Honestly, not a ton of stuff that I outright just didn't like or hated, but it really did feel kind of an in-betweener year for me. So I'm glad that Kieran and I can bounce off, because to me, I was like, I missed Babe by 1 year, man. And I'm a little pissed off about that.
My God, if we were talking about Babe, I'd be so happy right now.
You're always welcome back when we get around to Babe year.
Oh my gosh.
George Miller got enough love last week,
Fair.
How dare you, sir?
I'll quickly jump in and just say that the thing that struck me about this year was one sentence just kind of kept coming up over and over and over. And I would define 1996 as the year of the ensemble. And I think we'll really be talking about this once we get into the categories, because there's going to be probably some category manipulation between all four of us. There were just a lot of performances where it was hard to define lead versus supporting, because I watched 46 different movies during this prep period for 96, and I would classify 35 of those as heavy ensemble films where there were so many actors it was hard to get them in, other than, throw Shine out the window, throw Emma, throw Jerry Maguire, where there's a few where it's like a clear lead performance. But for the most part, there was just a lot of ensemble pieces in there. And I think I would kind of tend to agree with Myke in that it's a little bit of a tweener year. I think there's a few movies that are like bona fide borderline perfect movies, but there's a lot of stuff in there that's just good, not great for me. I think 94 was better, and it felt like we were tailing off just a touch before we got to what I think is some superior years. We did 98 on this show in February, which I think was a better year. 99 we'll get to next year on the show. But I thought 96 was good. Could have been a little stronger in some areas, but I did have fun with the 46 watches that I got through. But let's talk about a couple of the bad ones really quickly. So if you had to single out maybe one or two that you just were really down on after you watched them, Myke, let's start with you on this. Was there one or two movies that you just really hated watching?
Not too many. I tend to be pretty optimistic and try to look for the good, but I guess I'll bring it out now. Shine was the bottom for me. I don't know what's going on in Shine. It's a mess. I don't even know what the climax of that story is. Jeffrey Rush is barely in it for the first hour. It's just weird to me that thing was such a huge hit. It definitely smacks of Hallmark vibes. That movie I was in it for about 45 minutes and then I dipped out.
Yeah, Kieran, what about you? Any movies that you just... I know there was one you were dreading going into prep, and I'm curious if that's going to come up here or not.
Yeah, well, there's one movie here that is the worst movie that I watched for this. There's no doubt in my mind.
And that would be?
Britt already mentioned it. It's The Mirror Has Two Faces. What the fudge is going on here with this thing? First of all, Barbara Streisand, just do less. Just do less forever and ever. Amen. Do less.
Oh my gosh, that's hard. Barbara
Jeff
already.
Bridges. This is one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a movie from Jeff Bridges. He should have his Oscar taken away from him for what he did in this. I can't even begin to comment on what is going on with this film. It gets 0 nominations from me, and may God have mercy on its soul.
Well, that wasn't the one I thought you were going to mention.
And Lauren Bacall can go blow too. How about that? I wanting pity nominations out of her. She was awful in it. She's a screen legend. Great. She stunk in the movie.
Kieran, I'm going to pose this question to you. You can opt to not answer it if you would prefer to wait on it. I know Secrets and Lies was one you were a little apprehensive to go near. Mike Lee, that whole situation. Do you want to talk about Secrets and Lies now?
Okay. So to update at least the people we're doing this episode with, I believe that my line, which I said about prospectively watching Secrets and Lies, and pardon my decorative language here, I think I said, quote, I'd rather shove a crumpet up my ass than watch Secrets and Lies.
That would be the quote.
Okay, I did get it right. All right.
How did that feel?
I opted to watch the movie, actually, instead of the alternative. And I'll leave it at this. That will be receiving some love from me today. I do have that on my list of nominees somewhere.
That's beautiful to hear. But one of the surprises. Okay. Britt, what about you? Any movie or two you want to single out as just real shit?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just hate The Crucible in general. I hate that play. I think it's really misogynistic, and I think it's the worst. So I begrudgingly rewatched The Crucible and went, yep, still hate it. So that happened. And then first time watch, Crash. That was a film that I disliked so much. And I feel like I'm pretty I am the type of person that goes into a film that has kind of a bizarre and probably awful premise, and I think, I'm gonna like this one. And I really thought Crash was gonna be a movie that I'd enjoy. I was like, I like Cronenberg. I don't like car crashes, but I like people doing weird shit, so why not? And I watched this film and thought, wow, these are just a bunch of boring rich people who don't know how to get a hobby. Why would I care? And that's basically what I came out of Crash with.
Crash feels like a
really
quintessential Brit movie too.
Right?
I'm really grateful to be a part of this conversation because now we can know where Britt officially stands on car crashes. Not a fan.
Yes, not a fan. Crazy enough.
Hot
I don't
take.
want to watch them. They make me uncomfortable. And it makes me really uncomfortable when people decide to screw in car crashes. Like, why are we doing this? I mean, I'm not going to yuck your yum, but that one's a little bizarre to me. Only because you're probably a rich person who needs a hobby.
Yuck your yum.
Is that a new phrase for you, Kieran? That's like the trendiest of phrases these days.
I got the book here. I'm going to write it down. Trying to keep.
You never want to yuck somebody's yum.
Don't yuck their yum unless they want to fuck in a car crash. Then go have at it, I guess.
Yep, then yum it up.
Or yuck it up. I guess. I don't know. We can cut all that. That was bizarre.
It's staying in.
Great, perfect. It's going to be the first thing on the
It's going in the sizzle reel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. This is why I'm here.
Okay, well, I didn't expect either of those answers I didn't expect Secrets and Lies to not get just absolutely bombarded by Kieran, and then Crash I didn't see coming out of Britt's mouth. So good surprises there. I'll throw out a couple really quickly for me. The Mirror Has Two Faces. We can unanimously just kind of check that one out of here.
Check it out.
What the hell was that movie? You're right, Kieran. That's the worst Jeff Bridges I've ever seen, and I love Jeff Bridges. What the hell was he doing there? I have no clue. And the other one, this will be a little bit of a hot take. I'm not going to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do. I'm not going to sit here and dog The English Patient. I actually think The English Patient's a pretty good movie. But the one movie that does bother me, I'm just not a Baz Luhrmann fan. Romeo and Juliet. Well, I'm sorry, Britt.
No, this is not I'm sorry. I'm gearing up to agree with you. Don't worry.
Okay. I appreciate the stylistic nature of that movie. That's one of those movies where it's so 1996. That movie could only exist in that moment in time with the cast and the music and the everything about it. I don't like Baz. There's not a single one of his films I've ever been into. They get worse and worse by the years. Elvis was fucking dreadful, and
terrible.
It all goes back to Romeo and Juliet. I just don't think it's a good movie. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it. If anyone wants to defend Romeo and Juliet, be my guest.
I have an undying love for Moulin Rouge and Strictly Ballroom. I will go to bat for those Baz movies. I cannot. Romeo plus Juliet. The entire thing the 90s had about hey, kids don't like Shakespeare, but what if we put it in Venice Beach? Then they'll like. I hate that. That's like that 30 Rock joke about teach the inner city kid that poetry is just another way to rap. It's hacky trash, and I hate it. So I cannot defend Romeo plus Juliet.
This was my first rewatch. This was how I started this deep dive off with Romeo plus Juliet. We went over to my best friend's house. We made a charcuterie board. We had Prosecco. We were so excited. That opening shot happened where they're shooting at at a, like when they're getting gas in their cars, and we're like, okay, yeah, I guess maybe it's fine. Is that Jamie Kennedy? What's going on? And it just went down and down and down. I think I gave it a 2.5, but it probably should be lower. And that's just from like pure nostalgia. Right. Like this is where I was introduced to Leonardo DiCaprio. So I was like, oh gosh, I loved him when I was a kid. And then I rewatched it and thought, wow, he kind of sucks. Like he's really bad at Shakespeare. And so is Claire Danes. You should probably root for Romeo and Juliet in Romeo plus Juliet. And you don't when you watch that film. So check it out.
The line delivery from everybody in that movie is offensive. It's unbelievably offensive.
Except for the priest, because he was actually doing iambic pentameter and he's great. But other than that, everybody sucks.
Yeah, when you're doing these larger preparation podcasts, you have to make some decisions. And the decision I made is I'm staying away from Shakespeare this go around. I'm not watching a 5-hour Hamlet, and I'm not watching Leo running around with a gun reciting Shakespeare. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, Kieran, that's the thing. It's cool though. They have guns instead of swords. It's not like Shakespeare, Kieran. Like it's cool.
It may be cool, guys. So maybe 5 hours of Mel Gibson reciting Hamlet, but cool or not, I decided to sit this one out. So you're not going to hear any more Shakespeare out of my mouth here.
I also chose to not watch Hamlet because I've already watched the unabridged Hamlet, and that was at the Royal Shakespeare Company in England. And I was like, I'm good. I'm done. I don't ever need to watch a 4-hour Hamlet again. Perfect. We're set.
I have Best Picture cast has got Hamlet coming up eventually, so I'll cross the bridge when I'm forced to.
Oh God.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck.
Beat a much better movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before we get into the categories, it is worth mentioning, though, if Britt, Kieran, Myke, and I agree with anything that actually won an Oscar for any of the 6 categories we're going to dive into, that selection will skip the online voting process and get automatic entry. The odds of that happening, I would say, are probably 0%, but we'll find out. We are going to list off what was nominated and what won in each category. We're going to wipe the slate clean, and we're going to make our own nominations and our own winner selections. And this is just the second time this season where I have not 1, not 2, but 3 guests, which means we're implementing the very special Joey R rule for social media voting. I know this might upset some people, but it's just the nature of things. Because there are 4 of us giving winner picks, there's 4 of us, plus there's the actual award winner. So there is the potential for 5 different unique picks. So in the event, the 4 of us all have different, separate, unique picks, plus the Oscar winner. That Oscar winner is immediately going to go by the wayside, and our 4 unique picks will go to the social media poll. Again, still a pretty low chance for that to happen, but it is out there, so we will see. I'm looking at maybe Jeffrey Rush. Who knows? But somebody might be going bye-bye by the end of this episode. Does that make sense to everyone on the special rule?
Yes.
Your explanation of it made sense. The application remains questions, but that's fine. Good.
I respect the disagreement there.
Love Joey R. Love Joey R. Don't like his rule.
It's only going to show up one more time after tonight. It's unfortunate, though. It will again be on a Kieran B episode, so you're stuck with it once again.
So I'm here to battle it, at least.
All right, well, let's get to Best Supporting Actress. So the nominees for 1996 were Joan Allen for The Crucible, Lauren Bacall for The Mirror Has Two Faces, Barbara Hershey for The Portrait of a Lady, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Secrets and Lies, and winning the Oscar was Juliette Binoche for The English Patient. Now, Britt, you've been on the show before. Your name comes first alphabetically among my guests.
Rude.
So I'm going to have you kick us off on this category. So
Rude.
who you got?
No, that's fine. So my Best Supporting Actress choices are... Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Courtney Love for The People versus Larry Flint. Katrin Cartledge for Breaking the Waves, Kristen Scott Thomas for The English Patient, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Secrets and Lies, and Parker Posey for Waiting for Guffman. And I went with Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Secrets and Lies. I thought her performance in that film was just beyond incredible. What she had to portray was so unique and interesting, and she brought such life to that film. And I enjoyed that film, but it was very difficult to watch. It was a lot of just people being angry at each other in a very dysfunctional family. And I think she brought a lot of, she was very grounded, and she grounded her castmates. And I just was blown away by her performance. So I had to give it to her.
I love to hear that, Britt. And for people listening in 2024 right now, Marianne Jean-Baptiste is in another Mike Leigh film, which will be coming out relatively soon. I think there's already some talk about maybe she's going to be in the mix for something over the next calendar year. So hopefully she gets kind of, back into the limelight, because I think she's really, really terrific in Secrets and Lies.
She's fantastic. And I'm really excited to see that film. Found that out when I was researching her earlier, and I got very excited.
Now, one thing I did notice, Britt, in your 5, there's no Juliette Binoche, which I assume is you maybe doing a little flip-flop on The English Patient. Would that be correct?
That would be correct, because personally, when I watched The English Patient, I felt like the way that the story was told, Juliette Binoche was more of a leading actress, in my opinion. And I think the reason, I think they both could have been supporting, to be perfectly honest, but I think they probably wanted to split them up so that they didn't split their own vote in the same category. So I personally was more attached to her performance in the film, so I put her towards Best Actress instead.
Okay. I love to hear it. All right. Well, we'll get to some honorable mentions here in a little bit, Britt, but let's
Sounds
move
good.
over. Let's go over to Kieran now. Kieran, why don't you give us your nominees and your winner in the category?
All right. So for the category of supporting actress, and I'll read my nominees and then give my winner afterward. And I'll say that to me, all 5 of these women were essential to their films and essential to the core themes and delivering the emotionality of the film. So I went with my nominees as Juliette Binoche in The English Patient, Whoopi Goldberg in Ghosts of Mississippi, Regina King in Jerry Maguire, Jennifer Tilly in Bound, and Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Secrets and Lies. And my winner is in possession of the statue, and that is Juliette Binoche from The English Patient.
Okay. What is it about Binoche in that movie that just moves you so much?
So the bond that her character and Ralph Fiennes' character develops through the yin and yang of their grief with love. You have Juliette Binoche's character, who believes that whoever loves her is cursed, and you have Ralph Fiennes' character, who believes that he is living out his curse from his forbidden love. And the relationship that they develop amongst each other, to me, is really the most interesting part of the entire film. She's also the most likable character in the film, and makes you believe that all of these characters can love and can be loved. I think it's a wonderful performance. I really do. I think it's a great win in the annals of the Academy, and totally can understand the category broad conversation. There is a case to be made. I looked at it as they both actresses kind of, it's one or the other, and however you want to put it, I'm okay with going either way. I went with the way that it was presented, and also just maybe because if the main topic of the narrative was, if you look at it as the main topic of the narrative, love being between Ralph Fiennes and Chris Scott Thomas, and Juliette Binoche is kind of the next storyline that's going on, I'll just go with that. But you could easily flip that around the other way. So this is just how I went with it here, and I thought it was a deserving win.
Kieran, one other thing on your nominees. I'm really surprised by Jennifer Tilly in Bound. I love to see that pick. Was that a first-time watch for you?
It was absolutely a first-time watch for me. It was just an absolute amazing, wild ride. I may have watched that when I was 12 years old for, reasons of not following the narrative reasons, the checking the HBO. Why is this movie rated R? Oh, okay, I'll watch it. Yeah. But
the old scrambled cable.
Yeah. And, I think that beyond the field that I chose, I don't think this category was super, super deep this year. But I do think Tilly gives a really strong performance in that movie, kind of being the bridge between the over the top in such a great way, Joe Pantoliano, and her, her partner and the other one, Gina Gershon, kind of being the bridge between the two of them. And Jennifer Tilly has a very calm presence about her that really worked in this thrill of a movie. So I loved her. I loved the film, and I loved her in it.
That's awesome. Britt, I know you guys just over on your 1001 by 1 show did an episode where Bound came up. You talked really wonderfully about it. Was that in relation to prep for this, that you had just kind of reminded yourself about it?
No, actually, that wasn't at all. I didn't rewatch that for this because I had watched it within the last couple of months, and it was my first time watching it, and I was so blown away by that film. I think it's one that I'll probably revisit more often than not because I had such a blast with it. I thought that the leads they have such incredible electric chemistry. Jennifer Tilly was on a short list for me, so I'm really excited to see her get some love because damn, Bound is a good film that it is fun to watch.
Absolutely.
And super hot. Like they're so sexy together. Let's be real.
All right, Myke, we're going to go over to you now. Who do you have nominated and win in the category?
All right, my nominees for Best Supporting Actress are Juliette Binoche in The English Patient, Katrine Cartledge in Breaking the Waves, Courtney Cox in Scream, Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Secrets and Lies, and Elizabeth Pena in Lone Star. And my award is going to, I steal from the greats, Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Secrets and Lies is also my pick for Best Supporting Actress. That is awesome. The situation that movie poses, the emotional intelligence that character has to display to be like the most mature one, the way she handles this, bridging this gap, meeting her birth mother. I was transfixed by her as like the kind of the constant in all of the characters that amass around each other. I just had to give it up for her. It was a great understated performance, but very, very moving and touching.
I love it, Myke. Now, one other thing with your nominees, I noticed in there, you have Elizabeth Pena for Lone Star. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I know Kieran bought the Criterion version of Lone Star as a first-time watch, and I believe, Kieran, you had mentioned that Myke had also been about to buy Lone Star on the Criterion. Also, I think a first-time watch. Is that correct, Myke?
Yeah, I think it was Yumi and Adam St. John, same Criterion flash sale. We all got Lone Star as first-time watch. Been on my radar for a long time, so really glad to get that one.
So I assume you were a big fan of it. You don't have to reveal too much if there's more coming, but
you'll
enjoyed
find
your
out.
Lone Star experience.
You'll find out how I felt about it.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, I love the pick there.
Let the
Courtney
Western
Cox
guy
is a great
enjoy
throw
Lone
too
Star?
for Scream.
Yeah, I'll say this was my toughest category. I really don't have a short list after this, but Courtney Cox, I just love her energy in Scream and Gale Weathers, and we'll talk a little bit more about Scream later on. But that was just one that I just wanted to throw in because there's performances I appreciated that could make a short list, but that's the one I loved the most out of the others.
All right, well. Right now, we've got Marianne Jean-Baptiste and Juliette Binoche as the only two people, so let's see if I can add somebody to the mix. Here are my nominees and my winner for 96, and I will give these in alphabetical order by the film. My first nominee is going to go to Katrine Cartledge for Breaking the Waves. Big fan of what she does in that film. Second nomination is going to go to Deborah Kara Unger for Crash. I don't care what you all say about Crash. I had a good time with Crash.
Good for you. I'm not going to yuck your yum.
Ooh, thank you. My third nominee is going to go to Juliette Binoche for The English Patient. She's remarkable. I love Juliette Binoche and everything. Fourth nominee is going to go to Renee Zellweger for Jerry Maguire. And fifth nominee was a bit of a surprise for me was Barbara Hershey for The Portrait of a Lady, a film I didn't expect to be that big on, but I really liked what Barbara Hershey did in the movie. I think this is by far the weakest category of the six that we'll be talking about, just in terms of quality and depth personally. I'm so glad I did an English Patient rewatch, because if I didn't do that, I would have probably gone with Renee Zellweger, who I don't necessarily like in any way personally, and I don't think that she's that great of an actress. And so I apologize to Renee Zellweger for the burial right there. But I was gonna go that way because I think she's actually pretty good in Jerry Maguire. And then I rewatched The English Patient. Juliette Binoche is she's the best thing about that movie. Every time she's on screen, I can't take my eyes off of what's happening. I just think, like Kieran, you had mentioned, I think she carries the weight of that movie, and so much of what's happening in that movie, I think, is down to just the power of her and the relationship that she builds in that film. So Juliette Binoche is unquestionably my pick for that, which again might come as a surprise. I know I kind of get a bad rap for taking shots at the Best Picture winners, but I am a fan of The English Patient, and I am a huge, huge fan of Juliette Binoche. So there we are. And I'll quickly throw out a couple of honorable mentions. We can go around and everyone else can get theirs in. Parker Posey in Waiting for Guffman. I'm glad Britt got her in there. I love Waiting for Guffman. It's one of the funniest movies to me.
Obsessed with Waiting for Guffman. Like, I don't like comedies. I notoriously am not a person who will ever seek out a comedy, and I would watch Waiting for Guffman any day. I love it.
It's so good. Yeah, I mean, I don't think everyone's into Christopher Guest movies, but I am personally into his style of humor and everything about it. Britt, I'm sorry, you went at The Crucible. I think Joan Allen's really, really good in The Crucible.
She might be really good, but it's a misogynistic piece of garbage. I spoke out of turn. It just is not for me. Not for me.
I won't judge the film, but I will say I do like Joan Allen quite a bit in that movie. And then,
I agree. I think she's great, but I fundamentally don't like the film. Therefore, I cannot give her a nomination.
I can respect that. And my final honorable mention is going to go to Lone Star, and it's Frances McDormand. She's hardly in the movie, but she's really
She needs 2 Oscars. She needs 5 Oscars, 6 Oscars. Let's keep giving.
Yeah, it's a memorable cameo. It's basically a cameo from Frances in that movie, but it's really memorable what she's doing in there.
It took me 2/3 of the way through her scene before I recognized it was her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what? She can have as many Oscars as she wants. Let's be real. She's good in everything.
Oh, I love Frances. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else want to throw out some honorable mentions that they like?
I'll just say Andrew, that I had Joan Allen as my 6th place. She was the last cut for me. I don't necessarily care for really many of the other performances in the movie, but we felt like let's play act in a period piece. Like
100%.
DDL's good, of course, but Joan Allen was the only one that I really bought in the whole thing. Everyone else just seemed like they were, going through the wardrobe and putting the makeup and costume on and playing around at the Arthur Miller play.
Yeah.
Well, she's the only one that can just be stoic and reflect. Everybody else has to be caught up in the hysteria. So it definitely worked out in her favor.
Myke, Britt, either of you have any honorable mentions you want to throw in there real quick?
I did have Catherine O'Hara for Waiting for Guffman as well. Again, it's an ensemble piece. I thought she was fantastic, but I think Parker Posey was just a little bit better. So that's why she got on instead of Catherine O'Hara. But again, it's such an ensemble piece. All of them are so important to that film.
How about you, Myke?
Renee Zellweger is kind of the only shortlist one I kind of gave any thought to. I do like what she does in the movie. I think the writing overbears on her a little bit, but I favored Courtney Cox over her slot. I did want to give some love to the Crucible ladies. Joan Allen would be my pick. I went into the Crucible wanting to give some love to Winona, but it is very play acting. It takes the hysteria up. But everything Britt said about that play is accurate. I do still really like the Crucible, but it is a misogynistic, really harsh. Needs a lot of updating.
I do have a fun anecdote about the Crucible. My husband and I went to go see it at a professional theater company here. And it was a fine production. We both were like, oh, Proctor's a predator. This is great to watch. I'm so excited to see them, paint this young child as the problem in this situation. And all of a sudden he turns to me, he goes, I think I know who that guy is who was playing Proctor. And I was like, who is it? And he was like, I think he was the lead of Phantasmagoria 2, which is a video game from the 1990s. And he was, in fact, the lead of Phantasmagoria 2. So if anybody knows what that video game is, it's wild that we went to go see the same person in that game as who also played John Proctor. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Made me like it just a little bit more because I prefer Phantasmagoria 2 to The Crucible.
Did that production make him as unreasonably hot as they make Daniel Day-Lewis? Like it's
Absolutely
distracting me
not.
in that movie that it's like, let's make the hot quicker.
Right? Why were they like it was very much like they're like, okay, what is the lighting that's going to make him look like he is glowing from all of the wood cutting he's doing as this Puritan man?
Hey, Day-Lewis had a good run there with the looks between Last of Mohicans and The Crucible, and
Oh yeah,
there was that boxing film he was in. Yeah,
He was in a boxing film? Oh, I don't even know.
yeah, I'm drawing a blank on it. It was an Irish boxing film that might have even been called like The Boxer. But yeah,
Well, there you go.
there you go.
I'll look it up.
Okay,
He
well,
just
we
took up
only have
boxing,
two
they
options.
filmed it.
Probably.
Exactly.
He was like, I need a hobby. Can't be car crashes.
I mean, we all
They
know
can't
he
be car
just
crashes.
retired for 7 years in preparation to play a retired character, right?
Yeah. Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay, well, we have two options for social media on supporting actress, and those two are going to be Marianne Jean-Baptiste from Secrets and Lies, who both Britt and Myke picked, or you can side with Kieran, myself, and the Academy all together for Juliette
Wow,
Binoche.
look at that. Me, Andrew, and the Academy holding hands.
That may never happen
All as
again.
one.
wow.
Harmony. I love it.
No one would have ever suspected that, but here we are right now, Kieran. So let's enjoy it for a moment.
It's a
The
miracle.
three best friends that anyone's ever had.
Get that
Exactly.
on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go over to supporting actor now. So the 96 actors nominated were William H. Macy for Fargo, James Woods for Ghosts of Mississippi, Edward Norton for Primal Fear, Amin Mueller-Stahl for Shine, and claiming the gold statue that year was Cuba Gooding Jr. for Jerry Maguire. On this category, we're going to start off with Kieran. So, Kieran, why don't you give us your nominees and your winner?
Okay, and I thought this was a pretty deep category for me. Both this and the actor category I thought were super strong for different reasons. But I will say before I give you these that I actually liked the Academy's list, but I liked it enough to say that I can respect that, but I'm going to go my own way too. So here's how I went. I went first Steve Buscemi for Fargo, Cuba Gooding Jr. for Jerry Maguire, Nathan Lane for The Birdcage, Edward Norton for Primal Fear, and Dwight Yoakam for Sling Blade. So those were my 5 nominees in that category.
And who do you
And
have
the winner is a great actor who does not currently have an Oscar. I went with Ed Norton for this one, for Primal Fear.
I had a feeling you might be leaning that way. What about Norton kind of elevated him above the other 4 that you have there?
So I get that this is, the twist actor. I mean, we did this the year before with Spacey and The Usual Suspects, so it was probably, a little bit, maybe they're not going to do that 2 years in a row with it. Norton is a great actor who was on an incredible run here. This was his first real major performance, which is wild. He gets nominated in it, and he's a guy who's more or less on the fringe these days. He'll pop up every so often, but it is when you have to play both sides of the sword, and you have to play the calm, innocent, feel bad for me, and then you have to switch into the venomous, we believe that he could have killed version, but then allow the twist to deliver in the end, where we don't believe that it's real gimmicky, real M. Night Shyamalan-y. It totally worked for me, and I never found it bordering on the fringe of offensive or caricature-y. He held it with a real calm presence, and it was no surprise that he'd go on the run to take him through Fight Club and American History X and 25th Hour and all the way, that great run that he'd have through that, and then he'd get his Oscar nomination again later with Birdman. But he's a great actor. I'd love for him to have an award, and this was my opportunity to give it to him.
Awesome. I also love to see the Dwight Yoakam shout in there for Sling Blade. One of those, it feels like country music stars have a a history of like transcending over to acting pretty well. You know, like Chris Christopherson did a really nice job, and I think Dwight Yoakam's a really underrated actor. He's been in several good pieces, so really cool to see you shout him out there. I assume you're a fan of Dwight Yoakam in general.
I am, and he is. His performance in this has always given me the chills because it's that another one that could very easily be the caricature, the token Southern drinking abusive husband, and he finds a way to be so evil and show the evils of domestic abuse without really getting physical. You know, he's not physically violent in this. It actually is kind of like he's a bit of a wimp when people stand up to him. Even John Ritter at some point is like, "I'll smack you around." You know, he really cowers. And when it's his time to go, he's almost just like, "Take me," you know, like. So you don't always see that version of domestic abuse in films. So I thought that almost like emotionally impish character, he delivered it with such smooth, calm evil, and you know, isn't that what we often see in real life? You know, so I really dig that performance. That performance has always stuck with me in a film that had a great ensemble going on with it. You know, and I guess we'll talk about the others if they come up again. And then I thought Buscemi, to me, I've always wanted him to get Oscar love. And this is to me is his best performance.
Yeah, that's a good question. Best performance. I would definitely say it's up there, if not the best. But yeah, Buscemi's incredibly underrated. Mike, let's go over to you now. Who do you have nominated and winning in the supporting actor category?
Okay, I'm excited because as much as I don't know jack about acting, I think Best Supporting Actor might be my favorite Oscar category. So my short list is as long as my nominees, but whittling it down to my 5 official nominees for Best Supporting Actor, I have Steve Buscemi in Fargo, Cuba Gooding Jr. in Jerry Maguire, Derek Jacobi in Hamlet, Tony Jay in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Joe Pantoliano in Bound. And in what will be my most pretentious pick of the evening, I am awarding this Oscar to Derek Jacobi for Hamlet. So here's the deal. It's crazy what an actor can do when they have 4 hours to really flesh a character out, right? I really loved that, like, Claudius is a character who he's constantly played like Scar. He's the conniving brother murderer, like power hungry usurper. And Jacobi just has the room to, like, he's not like this awful guy for like the first part of the movie, because it's got the full text of Hamlet to work with. You actually kind of get the feeling like nobody really liked Hamlet's dad in the first place. Like, he wasn't that great of a king, and they have bigger fish to fry, and Claudius seems to be doing a fine job, and like things would be okay if Hamlet didn't like shake things up. So it was just like a more rounded version of that character than I'd ever seen before. And I just think it also helps. Shakespeare is tough. I'm an English teacher. It's tough to wrap your head around, and a good actor can suck you into like what the freak these words even mean. And he sucked me in. So this was a killer category. I really wanted to give it to Buscemi. Carl Showalter is an amazing character, one of my favorites. I had no problem with the Academy picking Cuba Gooding Jr. for this, but that's just where my heart led me. So I'm giving this one to Derek Jacobi for Hamlet.
That's great stuff. That was a left field pick for sure. That was a Adam St. John Oleana or myself in the last episode with Geza Rorig going way off the deep end. But yeah, good stuff, Mike. That's the beauty of the Almanac, is you gotta like prop up some of these things that people aren't that familiar with. I did not go back and rewatch Hamlet for this prep, but you've maybe talked me into it. I guess I'm gonna have to go back and check it out.
Why not?
Only for him. Just because Derek Jacobi is so good. He's good in everything he's in. Everything.
Yeah.
Well, there goes 4 hours of my life at some point over the next 30 days. So thank you for that, Mike.
Don't lie. You'll just watch it tomorrow. Let's be real.
Yeah. I really like my chances in the polls. I think I'm running away with this one, guys.
It might be just as good as my Best Supporting in '94, where I got 1.5%.
You know, with
I'm
the right
shooting for the
Shakespeare
bottom.
hashtag, you might catch the Shakespeare crowd online. You don't know.
Or the Jacoby fans. Let's be real, because I love him, so I might just click and I'm like, oh, he's really good in everything he does.
Oh, good stuff. All right, well, let's go over to my nominees, my winner, and then we'll get to Britt to round things out. So here are the 5 guys that I've got in this category. I've got Steve Buscemi, just like Myke and Kieran, for Fargo. I've also got Cuba Gooding Jr. for Jerry Maguire, just like the two of them. I've got Ed Norton for Primal Fear. Then I've got Vince Vaughn for Swingers. And I've got Robert Carlyle for Trainspotting. It was really hard to narrow down one Trainspotting nominee, to be completely honest with you. Johnny Lee Miller, Ewan Bremner, and Robert Carlyle all pull a lot of weight in the supporting cast in that, but I picked Carlyle. Begbie's just like one of the craziest characters in film, and I just love what Carlyle does there. I could give any of these 5 guys the win, and I would be 100% happy to do it. You catch me tomorrow, and I might change who I'm picking. But today, I want to give it to a guy that I think has long been underrated for his acting, and it's because the role that I'm about to give him the win for, he sort of got pigeonholed, whether if that's who he actually is in real life or he just got so like caught up in being that guy. Vince Vaughn in Swingers, it's sort of become like a cliche because like everybody tried to replicate that style and the cadence and everything that he's doing in that movie for the entire duration of the 90s. But it works for a reason. I really enjoyed going back to it. And like, I also think there's a lot of depth to that character, that he's so cocky and he thinks he's so full of himself. And he's just really kind of a pathetic guy that's sort of like stuck in this period of time. And I think Vince Vaughn plays him really well and earnestly, and like allows him to be both likable and sort of like loathsome at the same time. And I don't know, I just really like what Vince Vaughn does there. I think he's got some comedic stuff to it. He's got some dramatic stuff to it. And so I just want to say, I think Vince Vaughn has been underrated. I don't think that he gets credit for his dramatic work. Kieran, I know you're a True Detective fan. He was really great on his season there. I think he's good in The Cell, even though that's kind of a crap movie. So Vince Vaughn, Hacksaw Ridge, he's really good in. So yeah, I want to give Vince Vaughn some love, and so he's going to get my winner's pick. Freaky, he's great in.
Great and Freaky.
Yeah.
Just to keep the thread going with this, that is going to probably be a theme of this episode. Is he not the lead in Swingers?
I always consider Favreau the lead.
No.
Okay.
Favreau's the lead.
Okay.
He's literally supporting Myke. He's boosting him up.
Yeah. I just always viewed it as a dual lead, but I guess that makes sense.
That's fair. I mean, I think because there's that scene with Favreau alone in his room on the phone call and that whole thing, that's like, I don't know if there's ever really a scene where it's just Vince Vaughn. Now that that's as uncomfortable as it gets, isn't it?
That's giving me Virginia Woolf vibes, man.
I was just about to say, I've seen that face before. It was when we were talking about people drinking too much and arguing.
Okay, so Vince Vaughn is my pick. And so, Britt, let's have you round out the category for us. And I will also say, in the event that Britt does not say Cuba Gooding Jr., Edward Norton, Derek Jacobi, or Vince Vaughn, Cuba Gooding Jr. is gone.
Which proves my point about the rule being flawed. But go on. Yep.
Well, that puts a lot of pressure on me. Thanks a lot. So my best supporting actor nominees are Alexander Chapman in Lilies, Cuba Gooding Jr. in Jerry Maguire, Eugene Levy in Waiting for Guffman, Timothy Spall in Secrets and Lies, and William H. Macy in Fargo. And I am going with Eugene Levy in Waiting for Guffman because I think he is so brilliant. Waiting for Guffman, as I've said before, is an absolute delight. And it feels like coming home for me. I'm a theater person. I have been in those kind of productions. It is an ode to community theater. And Eugene Levy is a person I have met before. Like, it is spot on, pitch perfect. I have to give it to him. He makes me so happy. So I'm going with Eugene Levy and Waiting for Guffman.
The beauty of Eugene Levy knocking out Cuba Gooding Jr.
I feel really bad about that. Okay. I actually genuinely feel bad about it, but I have to be true to my heart. And my heart tells me it is Eugene Levy and his glasses.
So, I mean, since we're axing him, can we talk about Cuba for just like a second? Because he got a
He's
nomination
so good.
from all four of us. That role just needs like one more weightier scene. Like he's great, the energy he brings, but he needs that like one moment to drop the facade, and he kind of gets it at the end with the interview where he's crying, but like it hurt me to kick him and Buscemi off, but I just felt like there was meteor stuff all around, and it doesn't hurt my feelings to imagine Oscar Gold in Eugene Levy's hands.
There's a couple of chinks in the armor of that performance from Cuba. I mean, it's like on the cusp, but it's like you said, Mike. There's a couple of things that I think knock it down just a hair.
I totally agree. I wanted to give it to him again, but again, it was my first time seeing Jerry Maguire. It's not my favorite movie, and it's not my favorite performance on this list. It's a really good performance, but I feel like he didn't have his arc wasn't really there. So, sorry.
I had him in 5th place of mine, and if I was looking like at the stats or the algorithms in my brain, I almost bumped him for James Woods, but that felt icky. So I didn't do that. I really like the win. I think that's kind of one of the things that's fun. It was one of the better speeches, one of the better wins.
Yeah.
I think you guys all said it pretty perfectly with the performance. It's like an almost makes me love the performance. I did nominate Regina King because their relationship makes the movie work. And she's given not much screen time at all. And she's pretty electric every time she's on screen.
I almost nominated her, but I thought she didn't have enough screen time. I totally agree, though. When you said it, I was like, damn, I should have gone with my gut, because she was my favorite part of that film. I wanted
agree.
More of her. I was like, can we just have this whole film from her perspective, please? She's incredible. So,
yeah. And if there's something that maybe I can lean on with Cuba Gooding's performance is that the relationship and the love between two of them really delivers the closest thing the movie has to a theme. It's a fun performance. It's a fun win. It's a shame that it gets disqualified here based on Joey R's algorithms. But I guess that is what it is.
That's life. I like you, Kieran, I also had I had Cuba at 5th in my sort of power rankings. It's funny, Eugene Levy was my number 6. I wanted to get Levy in there. I love what he does in Waiting for Guffman.
We're here on Waiting for Guffman, man. You and I, we're just take it all the way to the top.
One other honorable mention I'll quickly throw out there. I don't know if any of you got to it. Mads Mikkelsen in Pusher, which is Nicholas Winding Refn's first film. I think Mikkelsen's really great in Pusher. I'm a huge Mads Mikkelsen fan, and he pushes the envelope in that movie quite a bit, and I enjoy what he does there.
He's really good. He's the only part of that movie that I like.
Yes.
The only part. And the reason I kept him off is because if I don't like the film, it's very hard for me to nominate somebody from it.
And you can tell that they knew that he was the star of that film because they made 2 more Pusher movies, and he becomes the main character. And it's like, okay, Mads Mikkelsen's the star of that show. And the story kind of pivots pretty quickly towards him. Any other honorable mentions that anyone else wants to throw out there?
Yeah, I said James Woods. I really think he's very strong in it. That nomination, the actual nomination fits. I like Armin Mueller-Stahl, to be honest, in Shine. I thought he was the best part of the film. I could have, in a weaker year, I could have kept that nomination. You mentioned Chris Christopherson in Lone Star. I thought he was, in the limited time he had, he was really great. Pantaleone. Did someone actually have Pantaleone too? Yeah,
Mike did.
He's
That
amazing.
was me. He was official.
But I had him more as a lead, so I couldn't get him into the. Well, we're not there yet. But this is a good year, honestly. I don't like nominating kids for Academy Awards. It's another kind of rule I give myself. But I thought the kid in Sling Blade was really good. I thought John Ritter in Sling Blade was really good. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of options that could have gone with this. So it's not a surprise to me that we all went for it.
I thought you were going to say Johnny Licknicki from Jerry Maguire, because I considered that for a second. The scene where he just is talking to Rod in the bathtub is great.
Absolutely.
My honorables. My short list is like the guys who were kind of off because it's not like the meteor roles, but I didn't actually get to Primal Fear. I have Edward Norton as a nominee just because I really liked what he did in Larry Flint, and I I skipped Primal Fear because I knew it was going to be 2 hours where I was going to get this exact nomination, and it just didn't feel like a good investment of 2 hours. But I'm with Kieran. Ed Norton deserves an Oscar at some point. Never really in consideration, but I really was tempted to give Matthew Lillard some Scream love just for the freaking
I would have
energy
been
he
so
is
happy.
bringing to that. And then another one. This guy elevates the role for this type of movie, and I was very, very close to bumping out Tony Jay in favor of Tim Curry from Muppet Treasure Island, because he is my Long John Silver, and I think he elevates that role in the same way Michael Caine does in the Christmas Carol version. Like, he is so invested, he's so good. It's never a bad time to nominate Tim Curry for any acting award ever.
All the Tim Curry. I think. By the way, the kid in Sling Blade is Lucas Black, is his name. But the famous line about Tim Curry and the Muppet Treasure Island is that Michael Caine acted the Christmas Carol as if all of the Muppets were real stage actors, and Tim Curry acted his role as if he was one of the Muppets.
That's fair.
And it
That's beautiful.
totally works for him. It's a great approach.
Oh,
He's awesome.
yeah.
I
So
really like
good.
the closing scene, like when he's rowing away and he kind of has the choice on like if he's going to shoot Jim or something. I think he actually sells that surrogate father-son moment. I think it's really good.
I love this so much. I wish you had nominated him. I would have been so happy. But I appreciate
Tony
the
J
thoughts.
just
Did you nominate
Tony
a
J just
cartoon?
got in because that's
love
Tony
it.
J he plays Frollo in Hunchback of Notre Dame, and half his work is done
I
for him
stand
because
by.
he just has
Can
that
we talk
voice.
about? Can we get
I'll
the
get-
other side of this? I know you guys
I'll
have had
give
a
you
few
the floor,
episodes
Kieran.
in a row here with this. Listen, I'm not an actor, so I don't want to discredit anybody's career. But voicing a cartoon is just not Oscar worthy as far as people who are going up against people. If you want to make it a category, I'm all for that. Let's make it a voiceover category and give them an Oscar doing that.
I
But-
actually completely disagree. Like, completely disagree. Voice acting is very difficult to do. It involves showcasing everything that they are trying to portray through this like this animation. You have to voice all of those things. I think it deserves every chance to be in the same category as an actor who's doing a live performance. Personally, like as a person who's tried both, they're very difficult. And
I mean, Britt, you've
gorgeous.
nominated one of my favorite voice performances of all time in Jeremy Irons, and
Yeah.
I hate to take the stance against that, Justin, but I don't think that the two things can be set in the same competitive category. I'm with, and I think last episode you mentioned I'm kind of the same with directors too. I don't know that a director of an animated film can be compared to the director film. I'm all for, if the right animated film is up for Best Picture, I'm all for it winning Best Picture. But when we get to the technical aspects, I just think being physically on camera, Richard Kind is in his studio home basement, like zooming in a call with, he's not even around his cast members. I don't know.
I don't think
I don't
that necessarily negates the performance itself, though, because no matter what, even if you're around your performers, like around your fellow performers, you still could not give an Oscar-worthy performance, because it doesn't depend on those people. It depends on you. It depends on what you're bringing to the table. And that's why sometimes we'll get performances where everything else is trash in the movie, right? But you have that one person that stands out because they were able to rise above everything else. So I just think that I just personally put them together because it is such an integral part of acting. And directing animation also is very, it is similar. We're all in the same boat there. But again, like, I totally understand where you're coming from. I get it. I totally get it. But I just personally am going to sit here and vote for animation every time.
Yeah, and I don't mean to belittle anyone's role in any of these things.
No,
it's
I don't.
It could be harder than acting in The Mirror Has Two Faces. I'm sure it is.
Okay, let's be real. The Mirror Has Two Faces is trash. So I think that anything would win over that.
Yeah, but just to me, it's like I don't know. I've said my piece. I respect animation. I respect voice acting and all that. To me, to go up against someone who's on screen in some of these larger roles, to me, make it own category. There's enough animated films there. Let's have an Oscar nomination for best voice acting.
But I feel like that puts voice actors in a completely different category to actors then. And I think it's kind of unfair for actors who just do voice acting to then have a bunch of actors who don't do voice acting trying to jump into voice actor roles, and not and kind of be bad at it. Like I've seen plenty of films where they have star casting where they put actors who've never voice acted before and they're terrible. And it's unfortunate. And I just feel like we need to lift up voice actors who make that their primary goal as an actor. I mean, one of the things I'm thinking of is so the actors in Baldur's Gate 3, which is ridiculous to bring up on an Oscar podcast, but they're phenomenal. Like their voice acting is incredible in that game. And if they had gotten actors who had never done voice acting or mocap, it would be totally different, I think. And when you add things in where like a lot of the time for animation, they're doing mocap now where the actors who are voicing it are actually physically doing the movements that they're animating over, it is in a similar category. They're just using a different medium to showcase the movements and their emotions.
Yeah, I'll weigh in really quickly. I tend to be on the side of Kieran where like I think there's enough quality animation that there certainly at this point in time needs to be a category for it. Like we need to recognize the voice work, but it is challenging for me to lump them in with live action actors and try to like piecemeal out, what they're doing versus each other. Whereas I think like compartmentalizing them is it's just easier for my brain to like identify them together. But I totally understand your stance, Britt, that like it does sort of put them in a box, unfortunately.
2 categories in a row. It's Myke and Britt versus Andrew and Kieran in the Academy.
What the hell is happening?
This, I'm not surprised. When Myke and I did Suspiria, I was like, we're on the same wavelength. We're good. I also love Moulin Rouge, so we're set.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, me and Andrew are like Stone Cold and The Undertaker, just falling into the tag titles and trying to figure out how to make that work.
Man, yes. I was thinking more like Kane and Daniel Bryan in a more recent wrestling comparison.
Sure. I'm guessing you're saying that I'm Kane. Is that what
Yes.
I can't freaking wait
You're
to
the man-
see what
you're
divide
the
we
man
get
of the
into
people.
on Best Actress.
You're the man of the people and I'm the fiery demon from hell? Okay.
Man, all this is just really really interesting window dressing to say Cuba Gooding Jr. is not going to get to participate in the social media poll.
And I thought the first burn victim we'd talk about today would be Ray Fiennes, not Kane. But here we go. You never know what can happen here.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Okay, well, let's quickly round up who we have when we get to social media because it is a very interesting 4, and I have no idea where it's going to go. You've got Edward Norton in Primal Fear, which is Kieran B's pick. You've got Derek Jacobi in Hamlet, Mike's pick. You've got Vince Vaughn in Swingers, which is my pick. And then you've got Eugene Levy in Those Gorgeous Eyebrows in Waiting for Guffman, which is Britt's pick.
Wild category.
Awesome.
That's crazy. I thought the 2015 episode had some strange categories, but this one might top it. Okay,
This is
before
why
we
we
get
love the
into
game.
okay, let's get over to the Best Actress category now. So the nominees for 1996 were Emily Watson for Breaking the Waves, Kristen Scott Thomas for The English Patient, Diane Keaton for Marvin's Room, Brenda Blethyn for Secrets and Lies, and the Best Actress went to Frances McDormand for Fargo. Myke, it's your turn to start us off in the category. So who do you have nominated and winning?
Category for me to start. Real quick, can I ask, did anybody else get the vibe and all the prep that to get a Best Actress nomination, you really had to cry a lot this year? Okay, I don't want to.
The more crying, the better.
Rude, but that's kind of how I felt. So, I shook things up a little bit. So my nominees for Best Actress in a Leading Role are Brenda Blethyn in Secrets and Lies, Neve Campbell in Scream, Frances McDormand in Fargo, Jennifer Tilly in Bound, and Emily Watson in Breaking the Waves. And in a move that surprises absolutely nobody, the Academy got this one 10,000% correct. It is going to Frances McDormand for Fargo, the beacon of light that is Marge Gunderson, one of the greatest police characters in movies, one of the greatest halves of a healthy relationship in film. I have an entire CineMusts on Fargo. You can hear me gush all about how much I love this performance. This is a clear, easy, nobody stood a chance of dethroning this one at all.
I figured that would be the case, Myke, but just for the sake of things, who would you say is number 2 just behind her?
Oh, God. So it's kind of tough for me to pick. Honestly, the more I've lived with it, and this is a little surprising, maybe Jennifer Tilly. I was real skeptical of her performance at first. Like, she was really hamming it up for, the genre vibes. But man, the way that movie pulled through and the way she was just working her way through the femme fatale trope, which I freaking love, and just how she bounced off of Pantoliano, the relationship she has with Corky. And I am a big Jennifer Tilly fan. I get into arguments a lot with people about how I actually really love her, and I'm always happy when she shows up. So I might give it to her. Neve Campbell's probably at my bottom. I like what she does with the final girl character. That I think she's, really showing the trauma she's, been working through the past year. Brenda Bleth in Secrets and Lies, great emotional range, but again, a little, that character has every right to be weepy, but that's her character's stock. And she says sweetheart. So that was another theme of this year. It feels like so many characters have like a word that they are just going to spam on repeat. For her, it's sweetheart. Vince Vaughn is saying baby all the time. Willem Dafoe is saying you need names, don't cut my thumbs. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Fargo is all about that. But just the blind optimism, the great character. I got to give it to Frances.
Who in the world are you dealing with in day-to-day life that doesn't like Jennifer Tilly, Myke? You need to get them far away from you.
Everyone.
That's a crazy
Everyone. I'm the only
crazy.
one. My wife likes her. That's not true. My wife likes her too.
Jennifer Tilly is a gem, and she should be protected at all costs. I love her so much.
The moment she calls from the bathroom was where I was like, she's going on my list.
Yeah, great scene right there. Okay, well, let me jump over to my nominees, and then we'll go around to Kieran and Britt afterwards. So my 5 for Best Actress are going to be Jennifer Tilly for Bound. I respect, Kieran, you putting her in supporting, but I just felt that she and Gina were basically co-lead, so I just threw it that direction. Second nominee is going to go to Emily Watson for Breaking the Waves. Third nominee is Frances McDormand for Fargo. Fourth nominee, Nicole Kidman for Portrait of a Lady. I really liked what Kidman did in that movie. Apologies, Britt, shaking your head at me.
We're going to have to talk about that film at some point because that was one of my biggest disappointments. I assumed I was going to love that film that has everything I should adore. And I was so upset that I rented that film. And I was like, I wasted $4 on this shit.
It's Jane Campion. I like Campion.
I love Campion too.
Yeah.
I adore Campion. I thought I was going to get her in Best Director, and I did not.
I don't know. There's something about Kidman, something about Malkovich in that movie. I just enjoy Portrait of a Lady. So
I'm glad somebody did.
Yeah.
No one in my household did. I can guarantee that.
And my 5th nominee is going to go to the same person that Myke had, and that would be Neve Campbell in Scream. Horror just doesn't ever get enough love in the Oscars and Academy Awards, and I think Neve Campbell's terrific in Scream.
She's great.
I'll defend putting McDormand in lead. I know that there's, some idea, is Frances a lead, a supporting? I've had people ask me if she's a supporting character. She's obviously the lead of Fargo to me. Is there any debate about that? Do any of you think that there's any reason to put her in a supporting position?
So I see the other side in that it's like the Jeffrey Rush thing where it's like she doesn't show up for like 40 minutes of the movie, but it becomes her movie from that point. And she is quite literally the heart and soul of the movie. Okay, it takes her a while to get there, but when she's there, she runs the show.
Yeah, I agree. I'm firmly in place with her as a lead. I'm a big proponent of Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs being a lead. I don't care about screen time. It's about the presence that you have within the film. And his shadow is cast over the entire film. Her detective prowess is all over every inch of that film. While things are going on, she's in the background trying to figure out what's happening. To me, yeah, she's the lead. I guess the counter argument would be like maybe you go into the Juliette Binoche where like there's something happening and Juliette Binoche is witnessing it happening and picking it apart and having her own emotional experience with it. I guess that would be maybe how you'd have her the lead. I get, this stuff can be fringy, but to me, she's always been an easy lead in this, and screen time is overrated.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Kieran, I'm glad you mentioned Silence of the Lambs. I just watched that yesterday, actually, for something else, and I don't care if Anthony Hopkins is in that movie for 3 minutes or 90 minutes. Like he's the lead of that movie. He's the most important character in there. Same thing for Frances in Fargo. So she's lead position for me. Came down to two. It came down to Emily Watson in Breaking the Waves. This is her first film. She basically got kicked out of her religious community that she was a part of to take this role. She was kind of involved in like a cult effectively. And what she does in Breaking the Waves is really remarkable. Lars von Trier, for as shitty as he is as a human being, has
a director. Sorry,
he has a tendency to get some really good lead performances out of women. Nicole Kidman,
I don't know how
Bjork,
he does it.
Kirsten Dunst. There's just something about Lars von Trier films that tend to get really good lead performances from women. So I got Emily Watson up there against Frances, but you betcha, Frances McDormand is definitely the winner. Slam dunk, no doubt about it. Myke, I couldn't have said it better than anything that you said. She carries that movie. I love Frances, and it was an easy, obvious win. This was one of the few pre-prep picks that ended up holding out. There were a lot of things I changed from what I thought I was going to say up until we got to prep, but this one was a very obvious win for me. So, Britt, let's go over to you now. Are you going to keep the Frances McDormand trend going?
We'll see. We'll see with my weird list that I have. The next two lists are kind of wild. This one's not as wild as Best Actor. But so for my Best Actress choices, I have Emily Watson in Breaking the Waves. I have Frances McDormand in Fargo. I have Gong Li in Temptress Moon. I have Juliette Binoche in The English Patient. And I have Maggie Cheung in Irma Vep. And my winner is Maggie Cheung in Irma Vep. Irma Vep was an absolute delight. It was probably my favorite film that I watched in this entire deep dive. The second she is on screen to the second she leaves the picture, I'm completely transfixed by her. She has this just presence that brings me in, and even the smallest gestures that she does on screen, I know exactly what she wants to portray, how uncomfortable she is with the situation. And it's such a unique thing for an actor to be portraying a version of themselves that everybody else is seeing, but isn't really the true them, I guess. And I just, I know I'm going to get like 1.2% of the votes on this one, but I just needed to get some Maggie Cheung love out there in the world. So
don't sell yourself short. I think Maggie's got a pretty good following from.
Maybe she'll get 2.7% then. Yeah.
She was my number 6. I was very close to getting her in. I'm glad you got this movie kind of into my radar. It had been on my watch list for a long time, and I had just never gotten around to it. And it was a really good watch for me there. I haven't seen the show yet that they made. They sort of adapted.
I'm not going to. Maggie was perfect. I don't need to see it.
That was kind of my stance as well. I think I'm good with what I saw.
Frances was a close second. I assumed that she would win until I saw Irma Vep, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. But also Emily Watson was really up there for me because I am not a fan of Lars von Trier. I really was hesitant to watch Breaking the Waves again because I have a visceral reaction to his films, but I can't take away this nomination from her because her performance is incredible. Just absolutely stand out incredible in this film.
Hear, hear. All right, Kieran, why don't you round us out for the category?
Here we go. My nominees are Brenda Blethyn in Secrets and Lies. Some fun category capers. Shout out Shea Cinema here with me and you, Myke. I have Elizabeth Pena in for all right. Lone Star. We kind of swapped the Gentili Elizabeth Pena supporting to lead.
I love it.
Frances McDormand in Fargo. Kristen Scott Thomas in The English Patient. And Emily Watson in Breaking the Waves. And my winner, oh geez, oh yeah, it's Frances McDermott from Fargo is the winner in this category. Sorry to leave you on an island out there. Britt,
No,
but
I expected to
yeah.
be on an island. It's okay. I'm chill here. Me and Maggie are fine in our
Yeah.
cat
I've
cities.
crossed the picket line.
Yeah, I mean,
Mike,
what
come
more?
over.
What more is there to say? It's a hell of a performance. It's a great, different kind of win in this category. When you line all the winners up and you kind of look at it, it's one of the reasons why I love the Hilary Swank win in $1 Million Baby so much is because there's no wins of a female being an athlete. You know, she's the only athlete to win the award. You know, and this is one where it's like we do have Jodie Foster a few years before with Silence of the Lambs winning that one, but it's so different than all of the other Best Actress wins, Silence of the Lambs aside, and it's very different from the Silence of the Lambs win also. It is a story about humanity, and she is the human amongst those attempting to display humanity. So, I think it's a great one.
I am a little surprised, Kieran, that you have Emily Watson in your 5. I thought you were going to be pretty down on Breaking the Waves. I assume you kind of are, aside from Emily Watson.
Well, I am. If nothing else, I'm fair. Okay, and I loathe Lars von Trier amongst the most of the loathers. I cannot stand. I think my word I used to Grant is that he is a dipshit.
Fair.
And he is
true.
I think that he directed one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. In The House That Jack Built, I think that movie should be unmade. I think everyone should go back to the scene where they made it and like do everything they did in reverse and just like get it out and think about what they did while they were doing it.
That movie was so boring.
To me, it's like I hate it. Like I hate Gus Van Sant's Elephant. Like it just totally. This isn't a podcast about that, but I can't stand Lars von Trier. I don't like what he done. He's like a kid wielding his dad's gun while he's making these movies. And I'm sorry, it's offensive to every one of my senses. But I feel like
that's fair.
I gave this movie a fair shake. It's a great performance. It's an undeniably great performance. You can't. I have my issues with the pretentiousness of the movie. But her and the male lead, I totally dug what was going on here. There are some good visuals in this. I could do without the obnoxious like chapters way he organizes the movie, but there are some undeniable things about this film that any lover of film could appreciate, and the most of that is Emily Watson's performance. She's wonderful in this film.
I wonder, Kieran, have you seen Melancholia, the 2011?
I'm not
film?
watching that movie. I'm not doing that. I mean,
Okay.
I aspire to wake up in the morning and feel good about the day, and not do that. Like,
Life's too short to watch movies you're not going to like. That's how I feel.
Yes.
I actually went into this year being like, if I watch a YouTube clip and think this looks like crap, I'm not going to watch it because I don't want to waste my time. I wish I had done that with Marvin's Room and The Mirror Has Two Faces. I really wish I had just told myself not to watch those. I think it was actually after The Mirror Has Two Faces that I was like, I probably shouldn't do this again this way. But with Marvin's Room, I just really wanted to put it on my films that were Hallmark, that should be Hallmark movies. So I was like, I'm gonna watch it just to make sure it gets there. But life's too short. Don't watch movies you don't think you'll enjoy, is all I have to say.
The only reason
Marvin's Room is an example of where the score is telling you right away that it's not a good movie. Like it's like hey guys, I'm giving you the hint here. Like
that
turn it
and
off.
like
Turn
and
it off.
Meryl Streep's wig. Like what is happening with that hair?
It's like when Hans Zimmer wrote the score to Driving Miss Daisy, he's like, all right, I got to put a little inside to all these people so they know. Turn something else on. Run away now.
Yeah. 100%.
So you'll be back for 1989 Almanac, Kieran.
No.
Attack Driving Miss
I did not
Daisy.
agree to that.
No, the only reason I mentioned Melancholia is I think it's the Lars von Trier movie that's the most non-Lars von Trier movie where you can like watch it and go, oh, that's an interesting movie by a really good filmmaker, and it's not going to distract you from the von Trier of it.
It's the one people like the most.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, if anyone's got any honorable mentions, feel free to shout them out really quickly. I don't really have any other than Maggie Chung. I thought this was a relatively thin field.
Brenda Blethyn. I really wanted to give it to her, but she cried too much, and it really annoyed me. Honestly, that's just why I kept her off. I was like, I can't with her. She is too much.
She made my 5 on the back half. I was adamantly against her being in my category for the first bit, but once she and Marianne Jean-Baptiste get together, and you see like, oh, she just needs somebody who actually like will give her some attention and some love. The back
That
half
likes
was definitely
her.
what saved that performance.
Yeah, I agree. Because, man, she was insufferable. I was like, I also, if I was your daughter, I would hate you as well. You don't stop nitpicking me.
God, I just guess I've met too many people like that before where I was like, yeah, I get this performance.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I really liked her in that. She might even have been my runner-up if I'm looking at it right. But I thought this was a thin category, the thinnest of all the ones we covered.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, well, there's only going to be 2 options for the social media community. They can go out on the island with Britt and side with Maggie Chung and Irma Vep.
You have to have a leather cat suit if you come to this island, though.
Or they can
give it to
side
you
with,
on the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
They can side with Kieran, Myke, myself, the Academy. We all have Frances McDormand in Fargo.
Wow, aren't you all special?
All right, let's get to Best Actor now. So the Academy's nominees and winner in 96 were Ralph Fiennes for The English Patient, Tom Cruise for Jerry Maguire, Woody Harrelson for The People vs. Larry Flint, Billy Bob Thornton for Sling Blade, and the Oscar went to Jeffrey Rush for Shine. I'm going to go ahead and start the category off this time. So here are my 5 nominees in Best Actor. First up, I'm going to play a little bit of category manipulation. I've got William H. Macy from Fargo. He's the
Fair.
lead to me. He and Francis are both lead characters in that movie for me. If people want to argue that he's a supporting, I don't have a problem with it. I just felt he was more deserving of a lead nomination. Second nomination is going to go to Tom Cruise for Jerry Maguire. God damn, I miss Tom Cruise when he actually had to test himself as an actor. I understand why he does what he does now, and it makes a lot of money, and he likes jumping out of planes and doing crazy stuff, but he was on a run in the 90s, like a really great run. I just missed that Tom Cruise, so got to give him some love there. Third nomination is going to be Chris Cooper for Lone Star. He's riveting in Lone Star. That's a brilliant movie, a really underrated movie. Fourth nomination is going to go to Billy Bob Thornton for Sling Blade. And fifth and final nomination is Ewan McGregor for Trainspotting. So if on my pre-prep board, I had either Tom Cruise for Jerry Maguire or Ewan McGregor for Trainspotting. Those were the kind of the 2 I was tossing between, and I felt fairly certain it was going to be one of those 2 guys that was going to get the win. However, there was one performance that totally blew me away. I hadn't seen the movie in probably 20 years. There's no part of this actor that you can see in front of the screen. He transforms in a way that's almost unfathomable to me. I was just like dumbfounded by what I was watching. It's Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade.
Let's go.
I knew Kieran was going to get excited for that pick. It was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. Yes. You can't watch that movie and see Billy Bob Thornton. He is not there. It is something otherworldly what he's doing with that role. I'm unbelievably impressed. I ran this pick by a friend of ours, Adam St. John, because I was like, am I going to be like too far out on an edge? And, he mentioned, there's that Tropic Thunder Robert Downey Jr. line that I'm not going to mention here, but I don't think Billy Bob went that far out with the role. I understand if people have some problems or reservations with it, but I think it's a perfect performance. I have nothing negative to say about Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade. Love it. Blew me away. Did not expect to go that way. So that's where I stand on it.
Amazing. I'll spoil it that he's not my winner, so I just want to get that out there. But I love this. And I give you a hard time, Andrew, as you know, as I'm sure you know.
Of course.
I loved your nominees. They're not the same ones that I have. I loved your nominees and I loved your winner. I thought you really nailed it here with this one. I'm happy that he got some love here. He's an underrated actor in general. And listen, we can have the debate about actors performing people who are portraying people who have mental disabilities or physical disabilities, and that's a whole debate within itself that I don't necessarily know that I'm qualified to talk about, so I'm not going to really go there. But I think that he knows the lane in which this character understands life emotionally and understands life, at least in his world. I don't know that the movie is commenting on any kind of specific ailments or disabilities. I think it's just, this is a character. These are his limitations, and this is where he works. And this is how he perceives the world that he is forced to contend with amongst all the problems he has. I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised you chose it. I like it. I like that we're having this conversation.
I was keeping it very close to the vest, Kieran, because I knew you were going to have a very visceral reaction to it in a positive way. So I'm happy I was able to get that out of you.
I fully assumed to be the only one bringing up Sling Blade tonight. So I'm happy that we're even talking about it. So
For me, it's just that it was not available. I tried to get it, and it was not available at the place I rent my movies from. It was not available at the library. And I was like, well, then I guess I can't comment on this. Unfortunately, it was not for lack of trying. I just was not willing to go onto very seedy areas of the web to try to get it. Didn't seem like a good idea. I will say I was a little bit worried going into it, and I think I told Andrew this, just because we had Nell in '94, and I was like, ooh, buddy, I don't want to have another Nell performance on my hand. I did watch as much as I could on YouTube of the clips, and I was not offended by what I saw. I think Billy Bob Thornton is a really good actor. I just can't comment on his performance in this because it was unavailable to me. Seattle doesn't want me to see it, apparently. So darn city.
It's a shame because the movie's sort of been reduced to the French fry potatoes line at this point, where it's sort of become like a joke, and that's all people remember. And I guess I didn't have much of a recollection of the movie, having not seen it in a couple of decades. It shocked me how dark it was to begin with, and then yet also how optimistic it became by the end. I don't know. I was really riveted by the movie, specifically Billy Bob. Kieran, you gave some love earlier in the supporting side to like John Ritter and stuff. It's got a really fantastic ensemble. Just a movie I wanted to give a little bit of love to and give a little bit of shine to, no pun intended. So, Britt, let's go over to you now for your nominations and your winner.
My weird nominations over here, you guys. Again, I'm going to be on my own island, and that's okay. So my choices for Best Actor, we have Charles Berling in Ridicule, which is a French film that I watched, and it's amazing. We have Yoji Akusho in Shall We Dance? We have Leslie Chung in Temptress Moon. We have Ralph Fiennes in The English Patient. And we have Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire. Ultimately, I gave it to Ralph Fiennes in The English Patient.
Yeah. What a night we're having here.
I loved The English Patient. I understand that people say it's Oscar bait. And I actually would kind of go against that because I feel like a lot of the time Oscar bait is more so trying to emotionally manipulate the audience into appreciating what's happening on screen. Whereas The English Patient actually told a very, very complicated story. And I think Ralph Fiennes' performance as both the person in the midst of this like forbidden love affair to this honestly this dying victim in a blown out church is incredible. It just showcases his talents, and I was really blown away by The English Patient. I didn't think I would like it, and I was like, that was one of the most beautiful films I've ever watched. So I think Ralph Fiennes was incredible. So yeah, that's who I went with. Very closely followed by Leslie Chung in Temptress Moon, which was one of the last things I watched. It's incredible. I almost chose Leslie Chung just to be a brat, but I had to go with my heart. My heart was Ralph Fiennes. Also, he looks so good on that box art.
Sure does.
Someone on social media commented today about
I saw it. And I was like,
yeah,
look at that chiseled jaw.
And yeah, I mean, I think we're all guilty of using the Oscar bait term. I certainly more than most, I would imagine. But The English Patient is very much not Oscars bait, if you ask me. I think it's just a really endearing movie. Okay,
I'll
Mike.
watch it again too. Like, that's the thing I did not expect. It's one of those films that in a couple of years I'll be like, today is an English Patient day. It's raining. I have a nice like mug of coffee and a strudel. Perfect. Let's watch The English Patient and cry.
All right. Well, Mike, let's go over to you now, and then we're going to go to Kieran to
Oh.
close out the category for us.
Oh, we're switching up order. Okay.
I'm going to switch it up a little bit on you guys. Keep you on your
I like
toes.
it. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, my nominees for Best Actor in a Leading Role are Tom Cruise in Jerry Maguire, Woody Harrelson in The People vs. Larry Flint. I also have William H. Macy in Fargo as a lead performance. Ewan McGregor in Trainspotting, and I consider him a lead. I'm going Timothy Spall in Secrets and Lies. Shocking, no, but I'm down to two. It's between William H. Macy and Tom Cruise, variations of the same character, guys at the ends of their ropes, desperate. Surprising nobody, my win is going to William H. Macy for playing Jerry Lundegaard in Fargo. Andrew, what you said about Billy Bob Thornton, that's how I feel about William H. Macy in Fargo. I think I can see him in there if I look close, but he transforms. I feel the desperation. I consider him a lead because his actions spar the entire movie forward, and when Frances McDormand takes over the movie, it's to unravel the mess he has made, and just the terrible things he does. That he's really playing a villain, but to me, the most despicable thing he does in this chain of violence and awfulness he sets off is the scene where his son is inconsolable and Scotty is asking him, like, are they going to hurt her? And he's trying to do the flim-flammy car salesman thing. Like, these guys, they just want money. And he never once just goes and gives his son a hug. He's incapable of that real connection. And I'm a huge fan of the great villain death. So, my Disney upbringing, I love a villain that can, fall from a tower or whatever. But William H. Macy's demise in this movie is one of the all-time greats. Just a quivering, mewling wreck of a human who's finally got to be accountable for what he's done. It's otherworldly, easy pick for me. But I join you. I miss this Tom Cruise too. I miss the Tom Cruise that would take a swing like he did in Jerry Maguire, because it's great to see cool Tom Cruise play a loser.
Well, I mean, aren't there reports out there that he's in Iñárritu's next film?
He is. It's not more than reports. He's playing the lead in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
maybe we're gonna get like a revival of Tom Cruise.
He wants an Oscar.
I've always felt like we are going to get back, that he's going to have one last gasp and he's going to get his win.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Okay, well, Kieran, we're going to go to you now. So unless you say William H. Macy, Ralph Fiennes, Billy Bob Thornton, Jeffrey Rush is going to go by the wayside. Where are you standing on this category?
Okay. Wow. All right. I'm excited that you left me last year. This is fun. I have so much to say already. And all of it is extremely positive. So I know in Andrew's mind, I probably get accused as being the chalk guy with the Oscars, and the chalk's going to come out for this category for the most part. Here are my nominees for Best Actor this year. I have Tom Cruise in Jerry Maguire, Ralph Fiennes in The English Patient, Woody Harrelson in The People versus Larry Flint, Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade, and William H. Macy in Fargo. And I looked at this category here today, and I looked at it and said, damn, like, as much as I love Jeffrey Rush as an actor, because I really do, and we talked in the pilot episode of Rev Almanac about his role in The King's Speech, and I thought that was a Oscar-winning caliber performance in that. I ultimately agreed with them and Christian Bale. But I looked at this and said, damn, this is a Jeffrey Rush win that is going up against four really, really great actors who don't have an Oscar. In Fiennes, Harrelson, Thornton, and Cruise. And it's like, wow, like those four guys are still without an Oscar. This is crazy and all that. I am giving my Oscar, help me, help you, show me the money and all the quan in the world, Tom Cruise. How could I not? Come on, man.
Awesome.
Give the man a statue.
Awesome.
I was hoping somebody went Tom Cruise tonight.
Oh, yeah, baby. You know it. It is the cruisiest Cruise of them all, I think. He takes the 80s, the young 80s Cruise. He brings it into this like early midlife crisis Cruise, and it's fun to know that he's going to shoot into being an action star. We'll get the Magnolia performance right before that, and then he's going to be off and running and jumping off planes. It is kind of the the pinnacle epicenter of Tom Cruise for me in this film. It isn't perfect. I think if it won and it was, like Twitter loves to rank all these things, it would probably be hated if he won it.
True.
But he didn't, so we can
Twitter
have
hates
fun.
everything, so.
Yes. We can have fun and celebrate today. So Tom Cruise, and I love all three of your wins. I totally love them. And I didn't mention William Macy as another great actor who doesn't have a win. All four of our winners are well deserving of holding a statue, and hopefully one day at least one of them will. Maybe Rafe this year.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that movie.
I was about to tee off. Does anybody think Ray Fiennes will win? I know obviously none of us have seen Conclave, but
can we get another Lithgow nomination too? Maybe.
Yeah,
please.
I would be so happy with that.
All I know, and I'm going to put this on record right now, and this is not a shot at Timothée Chalamet, though I know, Kieran, you might want me to take a couple of shots there.
Me
If
too.
he wins a damn Oscar for playing Bob Dylan over Ray Fiennes for playing
he won't
whatever character, he better not. I'm just saying he better not. I hope we don't end up in that weird little universe.
Yes, Bob Dylan, the hardest musician to imitate ever.
Super difficult.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind.
So hard that it took 6 different people to play him, and I'm not there. Right?
Okay, I actually am a fan of I'm Not
Cate
There,
Blanchett.
so...
I'm a big fan of I'm Not There. Cate Blanchett's great.
Cate
as
Blanchett
Bob
was
Dylan.
incredible in that film, so she should win the Oscar for Bob Dylan this time instead of Timothée Chalamet, if that's what it comes to. But I'm just sick of biopics.
I'm here
like,
for it. I'm here
let's
for it.
not do those anymore. Let's not do biopics. It's just that those are Oscar bait. Okay, we're not going to call the English Patient Oscar bait. Biopics are Oscar bait.
I did want to weigh in on the English Patient Oscar
please.
bait thing,
Yes.
if I could. I didn't know when would be the right place to do it. This
Go for
seems
it.
like the one. I heard an interview with Anthony Minghella talking about that topic specifically, and he got very animated about it. And he goes, people say that my movie is Oscar bait. He goes, I would like you to have stood next to me when we were trying to get this movie financed. We were trying to get anyone in the world to give us money to do this concept. We went through 3 different or however many production companies. No one understood the concept we were trying to put together. We felt like we were putting into work that would never be realized. And then all of a sudden we have a bunch of Oscar nominations and people want to say, they were baiting the Oscars. It's like, I had no idea that this was even going to end up being a movie. So it's like, it's in retrospect, it's real easy to be like, and I don't know when we do the Shine beatdown. I'm sure it's coming at some point, but
it's imminent.
Even Shine, to call that Oscar bait, I mean, that's like a little tiny independent movie from Adelaide, Australia.
Yeah.
I don't think that they even ever thought that movie would see the United States, let alone the Oscars. So it's hard to we can all sit on our big chairs and be like, Oscar bait. But it's dude, I don't know, these people had to put these things together and made them. If it's financed by all these major production companies and Brad Pitt and all these people are producers, then okay, maybe. But I don't know. I just think it's a real reductive, dismissive term that we need to be a little more careful. Not saying that it can never be applied, but we need to be a little more careful when using that word.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with. I feel like nowadays it's easier to label things as Oscar bait when you have the power of Apple and Netflix and some of these streamers just pumping the amount of campaign money into movies. I'm gonna take a little shot at Coda. I love Coda, but it was very much sort of lifted up by just the sheer amount of money that Apple was just throwing into that thing behind the scenes. If we're talking Oscars bait, 96 is not a good year for people to turn to, because this was really a year of independent cinema, and so it's hard to label anything from 96 as Oscars bait, in my opinion. I can pick and choose some other spots here and there, but yeah, I would agree with you, Kieran. I don't think The English Patient is remotely Oscars bait worthy. Let's talk Shine though, because none of us have Jeffrey Rush in the mix. Does anyone want to defend the Rush performance in Shine? I like you, Kieran, think Jeffrey Rush is a very talented actor. I just don't think that this was the right win this year, given the competition. I just think it's a bad win. It's not Jeffrey Rush's fault, but it's just a bad win in retrospect, given the quality of the competition.
I don't think it was the best performance of the same character in the film. I thought the kid
Agreed.
was better.
100%. Agreed. First off, Rush doesn't come in until 54 minutes into the film. I was watching it going, where is my lead performance? That he won for this role. Where is it? Where is he? And I really enjoy that actor. I can't think of his name right now, but he was in He died with a falafel in his hand. He's fantastic. I love that guy. And I was like, okay, I'm following him. That's great. And for some reason, both the two sides of the film, we have Jeffrey Rush in the beginning, we get his entire backstory, and then Jeffrey Rush for the rest of the film, basically. And it felt like two different films, and I didn't understand what was happening. It truly was a baffling film to watch. I didn't think that Jeffrey Rush's performance matched the rest of the performances within that film. There was no cohesion in it whatsoever for me.
Mike, you seem like you're on the same wavelength there.
Noah Taylor kicks Jeffrey Rush's butt. And I love Jeffrey Rush. Like, get me on the 2003
Noah
episode
Taylor,
or a
that's it.
2010
Thank you.
retrospective. Like, I'm all for it. But yeah, like, it's one note. I was exhausted. The first couple minutes where we have him out in the rain in the diner, I was actually thinking to myself, like, if this is the next 2 hours, I'm going to be emotionally exhausted from, like, this one noteness. So performance aside, my problem with Shine is, like, the story structure is a mess. Where's the climax of this movie? Because it seems like they're building up to the big concert where they want the encore and he weeps. But, like, he's been well received. He hasn't had that hard of a time getting back into playing piano. Is the climax his dad reconciling with him? It just kind of happens. There's no build up to it. And freaking just the way they raise tension, the way the movie laughably throws Chekhov's Romanovsky or whatever it is around to, like, that everybody who plays that piece goes mentally insane. Like, that's the way that it's treated. Like, don't give him the Romanovs. Like, when he passes out on stage, you expect, like, one of the professors to be like, I warned you. What did I tell you?
This is the cursed piece, which is actually very
Yeah.
dangerous. Like, that's such a dangerous thing to introduce in general. I just, no.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know anything about music. It was laughable to me.
Britt used the word baffled, and I couldn't describe it better. I've always had an ignorant reverence of this win just because I was alive in that time, and it was like, oh yeah, like he's this great actor who won for this, and I thought this is my first time seeing the movie, and I just could. First of all, where is he? When's he going to be in this movie? And I just don't think any part of this movie's good. It's. I mean, now Noah Taylor did get a SAG nomination for supporting actor. I do think Armin Mueller-Stahl is the best part of the film.
Yes,
it's just not the movie. There is, Mike, you said it. I don't think the movie knows what it fully wants to be, and I don't really even think that Jeffrey Rush is. He's been really good in it. So it's
no.
And Scott Hicks. Well, we're not a director yet, but why? Like,
he gets it for playing the piano, right? Like, because that's like his entire performance. It's the fast talking and it's playing the piano.
And
real
did
life.
he
Like,
actually play the piano parts? Is that what it was? I don't know.
Yeah, no, he did.
Yeah.
That's him.
Okay.
I mean, that's
I can't see
amazing.
that.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
that he did that, but that doesn't mean that that the rest of the performance works. And it truly, like, I truly just don't understand that performance. I really don't. And I think that Noah Taylor's on par. Like, I don't understand why he would be supporting if Jeffrey Rush is lead. Like, they basically bookend the whole, like, thing. It's like half Noah Taylor, half Jeffrey Rush. I don't get that.
Yeah, I had considered, do I give him a supporting nomination?
Right?
And I couldn't even do that because it's like, all right, I guess he is the lead technically, and I really like my supporting category, so I'm just not touching it. I just don't know that this is a good movie. It's just, I don't even know that it's a good movie, let alone an award winner.
It's a confounding movie. That's what I took away from it. I can't make heads or tails of it.
And I need to say this too, because I know you have a question coming up, but I guess we'll just blow the whole thing up. Is that I know that Adam St. John hates this movie. Like, so like the term like hate watching something.
Yeah.
Like I did the opposite. I like love watched this. Like, or Yum watched that. If you want to go back to and I was like, I am gonna like this thing no matter what, just to troll Adam.
I thought the same
And
thing.
I couldn't do it. I physically couldn't do it. I'm like, no, this sucks. This definitely sucks.
You're just feeding into Adam's hand now. Adam just is going to be so happy that everybody hated Shine as much as he does.
That's why I had to start the episode by burying him.
There's no spite in St. John.
And listen, Scott Hicks. I know Scott Hicks is like I've heard interviews with him. He's a really nice guy. You know, like he's a good guy. He directed a Stephen King adaptation in Hearts in Atlantis.
Oh,
Really like well-spoken, nice guy. Not a good director though. So you know,
I'm looking at him up now. He did Snow Falling on Cedars as well. Also not a very good film.
yeah, solid dude.
Yeah,
Good for
it's
him.
a broken movie, just a completely broken movie, and yeah, I think Noah Taylor is actually better than Jeffrey Rush in the film. If
Agreed.
I had to pick one of the two guys, I felt more attracted to what he was doing in the movie there.
Totally agree.
All right, well let's leave the shine and the Jeffrey Rush here and put it to bed for now. This foursome is a really awesome foursome that people are going to be able to vote for. I'm excited to see what comes from this. So you can go with my pick. I've got Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade. You can go with Britt, who has Rafe Fiennes in The English Patient. You can go with Myke. He's got William H. Macy in Fargo. Or you can go with Kieran and Show Him the Money with Jerry Maguire. A lot of good stuff there.
We're all on our own islands this time.
That's right. That's
Good,
right.
strong. I might get a nice like 25 to 25 to 25 to 25 vote on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good mix
Yeah.
there. All right, well, let's get over to the Best Director category now. So something of note for this category is 4 of the 5 nominated directors also wrote the screenplay to their films, which is just something I saw during prep that I thought was interesting. So the directors nominated in 1996 were Joel Cohen for Fargo, Milos Forman for The People vs. Larry Flint, Mike Lee for Secrets and Lies, Scott Hicks for Shine, and the Academy Award went to Anthony Minghella for The English Patient. Britt,
Andrew,
you're
I'm
gonna-
sorry to hop
yeah.
in. I just wanted to call out too that Billy Bob Thornton also directed and wrote Sling Blade as well, or at least the adapted screenplay too. So it just wasn't nominated, but just to throw on top of that, that scene kind of was a theme running in this year.
Oh, I love it. I didn't know he wrote that as well.
Yeah, it was a writing credits too. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, well, Britt, let's go over to you first and see what you got nominated and winning in director.
All right. So my director category, I just want to say it's very stressful going first. I feel like I'm like, oh gosh, I'm the one who sets the precedence for what happens next. But anyways, I'll continue. Cool as a cucumber. Anthony Minghella. I don't know how to say his last name. I heard it many different ways. So Anthony Minghella for The English Patient. Joel Cohen for Fargo. John Grayson for Lilies. Olivier Assayas for Irma Vep, and Wes Craven for Scream. And you know what? I'm going to give it to my man Wes Craven for Scream, because Scream is truly one of the most remarkable films to come out of 1996. Wes Craven was ahead of his time at every point in his life. And I if I was being honest with myself, I'd probably give it to Joel Cohen, but I am sure he's getting another nomination tonight. So Wes Craven all the way, baby.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. One of the best horror directing achievements ever?
Yes,
Probably,
I
right?
would say it is one of the most important horror films out there.
Would you say that Joel Cohen was your number 2?
Yes,
If Craven
100%.
wasn't getting it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joel Cohen was the one I assumed I was going to give it to until today, to be perfectly honest. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be true to myself. Give it
That's
to
the
Wes
way
Craven.
to do it, Britt.
Hey,
All right,
I
well,
gave it to
Kieran-
Rafe Fiennes for Best Actor, so I feel like I'm off the hook now.
All right, well, let's go over to Kieran now and see who he's got for director.
All right. Here we go. My nominees for Best Director. And since we are revising the Oscars, I feel like we can fully revise the Oscar. My first nominees are Joel and Ethan Cohen for Fargo. I have Danny Boyle for Trainspotting, John Sayles for Lone Star, Anthony Minghella for The English Patient. And while I can't get around any Oscar nominations for acting in this movie, I have Wes Craven for Scream.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And my winner for this category is the great Danny Boyle for Trainspotting. Danny Boyle, Trainspotting.
I was wondering if you were going to go that way or the Coens. I figured it was kind of a toss-up between the two of them.
Yeah, it's a complicated film. It's a film that I both hate and love at the same time. I appreciate it and love it endlessly, but kind of hate watching it. It always gets a visceral experience, visceral reaction out of me, and But it always makes me think, and it always makes me feel. You can't argue with the stylism that he uses. He would go on to direct films I like much more in 28 Days Later and even Slumdog Millionaire, where he'd win his real life Oscar. But I think that this, it's been written about, it's been talked about, this being one of the most important British films and so forth, and or at least modern British films. Yeah, I mean, my guy Danny Boyle. What can I say? I'm a big mark, a big stand for Danny Boyle, and this was an opportunity to give it to him. There's probably going to be plenty of Coen love here. There's a lot to say about that film, but yeah, to me, it felt right to give Danny Boyle and Trainspotting one of the most important films of this year that got overlooked at this particular Oscars.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Kieran. I know it's not your favorite Boyle film.
It's certainly not. Yeah.
But would you say it's his best directorial achievement?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Right,
28 Days Later is very, very close, though. You catch me you caught me in the right moment on the Trainspotting side. You catch me in the right moment on the 28 Days Later side. I think that is one of the most criminally overlooked movie in the awards world.
Yeah, I figured you were going to say one of the two. I wasn't sure which way you'd went on that one. All right,
and
well,
Mike,
let's
Slumdog too.
Yeah, I know you're a big Slumdog guy. And I mean, you liked 127 Hours as well when we talked about it on 2010.
Oh yeah. That's, you go back to listen to the first episode. That's it. Yeah, you'll hear all the talk about that. Yeah.
All right, well, Mike, let's see where you go on this one. I have a feeling I know, but we'll find out.
Okay, so I have 5 tremendous achievements, very clear artistic visions that guide the hand of all of these movies. This is a very strong category for me. So my nominees for Best Director are Danny Boyle for Trainspotting, Kieran B. Me to the Punch, Joel and Ethan Coen for Fargo. Thinking I was going to be the only one out here. Well, one of two, but Wes Craven for Scream, Cameron Crowe for Jerry Maguire, and John Sayles for Lone Star. Surprising nobody, this will go to Joel and Ethan Coen for Fargo. They might have even been the ones that said this in an interview, but I think a lot about this quote where somebody asked, I do think it was the Coen brothers, what's the hardest thing about being a film director? And they said tone management. And Fargo is a masterful tightrope of something that on the surface is a tragedy that managed to be comedic, that has an amazing ensemble cast of characters that all stick out, that manages to be utterly depressing, and at the end of the day, one of the most genuinely optimistic movies I've ever seen and that I love dearly. No contest. This, out of every single category, never in question who has taken this one home.
Don't know where you stand on this on the record, Mike. Where would you rank Fargo in terms of Coen brothers directorial achievement? Is it
number 1
up there with No Country? This is number 1 for you?
This is number 1. Yep, I've got the 5 all out there. They're great, but this is easily number 1 for me.
Okay. Well, I will get over to my nominees and winners, and then this is such a stacked category. I do think there's worth taking some time to go through some honorable mentions in there. Sure. Here are the 5 people, I should say, that I have for Best Director. First up is going to be the very controversial Lars von Trier for Breaking the Waves. Apologies. I think
No apologies necessary. It's a beautiful film I'll never watch again.
It's your category.
I hate nominating the guy. I don't like him at all, but I have to, like you said, Kieran, I try to be fair to what I'm seeing artistically, and I think whatever he does on screen works for me in some way. Second nominee is going to go to David Cronenberg for Crash. I think that's something that only Cronenberg could have pulled off, and it really fascinates me. I've always been riveted by that film as well. Third nominee is going to go to both Joel and Ethan Coen, the Coen brothers, for Fargo. Fourth nominee is going to go to somebody I didn't think everyone was going to talk about, Wes Craven for Scream. He's got to be in the 5. He has to be.
I'm so happy right now. My little horror heart is just fluttering with excitement.
I mean, I've gone on record plenty of times saying horror just gets criminally underappreciated in this kind of scenario, and Craven has to be in that 5. And then number 5 is going to be Danny Boyle for Trainspotting. So I've given a win to Von Trier in 2011, which he ended up winning on the social media poll for Melancholia. I think that was a better directorial achievement, so I'm going to knock him out. I think Cronenberg is very singular in his style, but again, I think Cronenberg's done other work that's been better. This came down to 3. It came down to the Coens, Craven, and Danny Boyle. Ultimately, though, I think that there's it's a very strong group. I think that the pace, the visuals, the way he utilizes the camera, I think this is the defining work of this director, and he's going to get my win, and it's Danny Boyle for Trainspotting.
Wow.
It's a revolutionary 90s film, and what he does with it is electric, it's magnetic. I'm so appreciative of what happens in that movie because of what Danny Boyle's doing visually. It's a striking movie to me, so he's going to get my win.
Wow. And I just have to say, it's unfair to Britt that we Joel and Ethaned her. Like,
Yes, screw you guys.
It's like the Family Guy skit with The Price is Right. It's like, 800, and the girl next guy's like $7.99, and he turns and goes, screw
sure, whatever, guys. I'm again fine on my own little island, okay? Where I say I like them both.
And
in my defense, Britt should have thought of that before she went first.
Yeah, you're right. I really should have. I should have read your guys' mind. God damn it, being a woman's so hard. Shit.
You had just set yourself up, Britt, by saying how much you didn't want to go first.
I did. Wow, I'm really good at this.
This is literally why the term quote film bro is a thing. Like,
yeah,
this is why it's a bad name. Like,
this is gonna go out on the internet, and everyone's gonna be like, "She got film broed. Oh, she knows nothing."
Got
that
Joel and
dummy.
The film bro reel is definitely going up on Instagram.
100%.
Actually, Ethan was uncredited, and we need to correct that.
We'd like to correct this because he's a white male. He doesn't get enough privilege in his life. No, as soon as you said it, I was like, fuck me. Yeah, of course, but whatever.
You also you sensed, you're like, I don't like the vibes of going first this time around. You sensed it too.
Yeah, I have a sixth sense, so you're right.
I'll state on the record going forward, if there's a Coen Brothers movie nominated, I'm going to nominate them collaboratively.
You know what? That would have been nice to know before we started this, Andrew. Would have been really nice to know.
Noted.
Assuming he's uncredited, because he isn't. I don't think he's uncredited on all of them, but he certainly is on this one.
I was gonna be honest. I guess I just didn't do enough research because I was like, how weird. Ethan's not there. Oh well, we're just gonna go with Joel. I'm gonna go over here and watch Lily's a few times. Nobody else watched.
Britt, so I scramble searched it right before I went. So don't think I came in that.
Good
hot.
for you.
I was gonna say it, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me make sure I don't put my foot in my mouth here.
You did an amazing job leading us into the category, and I think we all Wes Cravened it up following your lead.
I was shocked, genuinely shocked by that. I thought I'd be on my own little island with Ghostface. So I'm
Craven
thrilled.
4 for 4 that's amazing.
That's incredible. That's a win in my book.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just say, because I would imagine that I'm probably the biggest surprise here for picking him.
Yes.
I mean, it's a genre changing film.
Yes.
And I wasn't going to touch the acting nominees of Scream because, it's not, to me, that's not, no. But it's to me, just I look at John Carpenter and Halloween, that should have been in consideration.
Agreed.
And when you see genre changing films, you have to take a look at the director and what he did. And it is a super supremely directed film. If you really watch it, it's clean, it's edited awesomely, and just they might have missed a little bit here with this. And I wonder if it is one, if they could revise themselves, I think they'd look twice at this one.
You know what I also really like about Wes Craven? When you look up Wes Craven, when I look up directors I enjoy, I'm always like, oh my God, please don't be a creep. Please don't be a creep. And every time I look anything up about Wes Craven, he's just a genuinely interesting, nice man who was raised in a Christian household and then did everything he could to go against that. It makes me really happy that he seemed like a good dude that just wanted to tell some fucked up stories. Man, thank you guys for first, doing the whole Coen thing. That's fine. But also for putting Wes Craven in there, because it made me really happy. It's the highlight of the episode for me.
He earned it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is a really strong category. I'll run through a couple really quickly, but there's probably 10 or 12 I could have tried to shuffle in there. John Sayles just missed out for me. Brian De Palma for Mission Impossible. I think
Yes.
I'm gonna stand by. I'm gonna
I
put
disagree
my
with that.
flag down. I think De Palma directs the best Mission Impossible movie.
No.
I know Kieran loves
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 2 and John Woo, but
John Woo Woo Woo, baby.
I mean, I love John Woo, but I am a big fan of Mission Impossible.
the Dutch angles, the everything he does, I love what De Palma does there. So those would be a couple honorable mentions. Anybody else want to throw somebody out?
Yes, I actually do. Christopher Guest for Waiting for Guffman, obviously my favorite movie of the year. I am the low person on Trainspotting. I actually hate Trainspotting
That's
so
fair.
much.
That's fair. I hate it too. I
unpleasant.
said that.
Genuinely hate it, but again, I can't go against what Danny Boyle does in that film. Freaking incredible. So he was like my number 7. But another movie that I am the only person that watched, there's a movie called Goodbye South Goodbye, Goodbye South Goodbye, and it takes place in Taiwan, and it was directed by Ho Xiaoxian, and it is about a bunch of gangsters in Taiwan trying to do some get rich quick schemes and how they go terribly wrong. It is slow cinema at its finest. I loved it. I absolutely adored this film, and it's one of my favorite of the year. And he was very close to getting a nomination from me just because I really appreciated seeing a different side of Taiwan. So that's another one that I wanted to put in there.
I'm happy, Britt, that you were able to find some international cinema.
Yeah.
Because we had all kind of talked about this off air. I don't think that 96 was a particularly strong year for international film compared to some of the other stuff in that decade. And I had a really tough time getting to some stuff. So I'm glad you were able to kind of find your way into Asian cinema a little bit there.
I found a couple that I really liked. I found Goodbye South Goodbye. I found this Canadian film called Lilies that's just phenomenal, and I highly recommend people checking out. It is in English though, so like it's not French Canadian. Well, it might be French Canadian because there are some accents. Anyways, I don't know enough about it to say that. Ridicule, which is a French film, freaking phenomenal, super funny, fantastic. Temptress Moon, I really, really liked. Swallowtail Butterflies was fantastic as well. And then Shall We Dance? The silliest film on the list, but such a pleasant performance. And it's one of those movies that I will go back to just to be happy when I watch it, because it's about a salaried businessman who is kind of just unhappy with his life. He sees somebody dancing in a window and decides he wants to learn how to ballroom dance. And it's freaking lovely, and it's available on YouTube. So I highly recommend like going out and finding it and not watching the Richard Gere remake of it.
I'm always in favor of watching something over a Richard Gere remake.
Yeah. I mean, he's fine in Primal Fear, but maybe not so good with the ballroom dancing.
Mike, what about you? Any honorable mentions in the directing category?
Yeah, I've got 2 coming from some genre picks, and I kind of just slotted Wes Craven, clearly the most assured guiding hand in terms of genre, but would love to throw out. You can argue that's a good movie. You can argue it's a bad movie. I love Independence Day, and Roland Emmerich really threw together quite the amazing spectacle, one of the defining blockbusters of the 90s. So
Absolutely.
really, really close to giving it. And then, going the opposite from a giant production down to something very clean, simple. What the Wachowskis do with the hard-boiled noir caper in Bound. They were real
Yes.
close. Craven took that slot, but both of those I would love to just give some shout-outs to. Great jobs in the director's chairs there.
Yeah, the Wachowskis have obviously become known for science fiction and something much different in their career, but I hope people go and check out Bound. It's one of the hidden gems of 96 for sure.
I had 2 Criterion blind buys from this, Bound and Lone Star, and both of them paid off in spades.
Yeah,
Hell
big hits on that
yeah.
one. And right around the time we're recording this, there will be another 50% off Criterion, so I'm going to have to hide the debit card. All right, Kieran, what
The
about you?
Bound
Any-
set is better.
I had the Wachowskis. That was going to be the one that I would bring up. I do want to say I'm happy that that Anthony Minghella didn't get Joey R. ruled this time around when we get there. Maybe I'll shout out Mike Nichols too for The Birdcage. I know I'm the only person to bring it up so far.
I keep forgetting about it. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is. It's probably 20 minutes too long.
Yeah.
There's a section there in the middle where they're kind of just like waiting at a bus stop or something. We could just cut that right out of there. But I just loved that as a kid so much, and it was really fun revisiting. I hadn't watched it in 20 years, and It was cool to check that out again, and I love Mike Nichols, so anytime we can bring him into the mix.
Yeah, there were a lot of movies in '96 that, whether it's The Birdcage, That Thing You Do, that Independence Day, like Mike shouted out there were just a lot of fun '90s movies that I remember seeing 11, 12, 13 years old. It was fun going back and checking them out here in '96 that I just couldn't find space in my top 5 for. So best director, we will have 4 options when we get to social media. You can side with Britt. She's got Wes Craven and Scream. You can side with both Kieran and myself. What in the world is going on, Kieran? You and I are just
wild.
Holding hands.
Lockstep tonight, I know. We got Danny Boyle in Trainspotting. Mike's got the Coen brothers in Fargo. And, of course, the Academy had Anthony Minghella in The English Patient. All right,
solid
best
picks
picture.
all around. Like,
Great.
honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of choices there, different genres represented, kind of like what happened in 2015. Got a lot of coverage there. So
I'm telling you, it's a better year. It's a better year than it seems on first glance.
It is I feel like my esteem for it is rising now that I'm discussing it with all of you. Because at first I was like, there's like 3 movies out of this that have lasting power. But that's not true. There are plenty. Even the Romeos plus Juliets have a place in the world.
Mike, did you have something to say there?
I was just going to make a quip that, yeah, it's a stronger year once you're not scrambling desperately to fill your best supporting actress slot.
That was a hard slot.
As is tradition.
Yes, true. All right, well, let's get to the Best Picture category. So it's worth mentioning that of the 163 major studio releases in 1996, only 1 film was nominated for Best Picture amongst those studio releases, that being Jerry Maguire. So tons of independent cinema was at the forefront of 96. The actual nominees for 96 in Best Picture were Fargo, Jerry Maguire, Secrets and Lies, Shine, and top honors that year went to The English Patient. This is a year where there were only 5 nominees, so we're going to adhere to those rules and limit our picks to 5. Kieran, you're the host of Celebrating Best Picture winners, so why don't you start us off here?
All right, then. My 5 nominees for Best Picture are The English Patient, producers, Daryl Zant. No, sorry. The English Patient.
I was like, oh shit, I've been
Saul Zaentz
film
was
broad
not
again.
prepared for
God
that.
damn it.
Saul Zanuck.
So thank you. Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm not going to do that. The English Patient, Fargo, Lone Star, Secrets and Lies, and Trainspotting.
The anticipation's killing me.
My winner for Best Picture, as 8th grade me, Mike, would have chosen as well, is indeed Fargo. Yes, Fargo for Best Picture. Yes, there it is. I mean,
I'm
we've.
shocked.
I know I've been a little quiet on it going in, but I think when all things are said and done, for me, this is the lasting picture of 1996. I think the things that I liked about Trainspotting from a directorial standpoint don't necessarily work for Best Picture. I do think Best Picture has to have a level of accessibility. It has to have a grandeur to it, for me at least. When I pick one, and to me, Fargo has that. I do love The English Patient, and I think it's a really good Best Picture winner. But if I'm filling out the ballot, I'm voting Fargo.
Well, I hope the crumpet you were contemplating shoving up your ass you can now eat and enjoy it a little bit.
I buttered it, I jellied it up, I nibbled it, I poured myself a glass of tea, and I sat comfortably on the couch.
Milk
Earl
in the
Grey,
tea?
actually.
Oh, Earl Grey. Well, you can still put milk in Earl Grey. I always do, but only after you take the tea bag out. If you put it in before, Jesus Christ, that's not making a cup of tea.
The main actor in that, I was really happy that two of you guys dominated. Was that Britt and Mike, or Britt and
yes,
Andy?
Timothy Spall.
Yeah, you did the supporting and the lead, and I didn't know how to fit him in just because those categories are deep. He is so strong in that film. I really liked Secrets and Lies by the end of it. I'm like, oh, this is a lovely little charm, ain't it? Cheerio. No, I dug it. It's a great film. The thing I liked the least about it was the directing, though. The aesthetics didn't work for me. I felt like the setting on my TV was like wrong or something. Like I got to change this. I feel like I'm watching like the wrong vision here, but no, it's a lovely film. It's a good little family drama, and watch it with subtitles though, please.
My husband's British, so I feel like I'm good. I can decipher the British accents pretty well at this point.
All right, well, Mike, let's go over to you now and see. Again, I have a pretty good idea where you're going to go with this, but let's find out if your best picture is what we think it might be.
Okay. My nominees for Best Picture of 1996 are Fargo, Jerry Maguire, Lone Star, Secrets and Lies, and Trainspotting. And the winner is, I mean, do you guys want to say it?
Is it Fargo?
It's Fargo.
It's Fargo, one of my absolute favorite movies, one of the when I talked the clear cream of the crop of 1996, there is Fargo, and then there is several feet before we get to the next high quality thing. It's a perfect movie. I think its greatness is just self-evident in every little turn, even though they just say, yeah, you betcha a lot. I still think it's one of the all-time great screenplays even. So, I dabbled for a minute, Trainspotting crept up. I didn't have great residual memories of Trainspotting the first time I saw it. That left me icky. Trainspotting climbed up a lot. Jerry Maguire, probably bottom of the pack here, but it's made in the vein of a Billy Wilder movie, which is my jam, and just that kind of optimism being injected. I love the performances. I love the story. Lone Star was a great blind buy and first time watch for me. I'm a Western guy, so taking that into a movie that honestly felt like it was made much more recently than 1996. Lone Star blew me away. And then Secrets and Lies, same thing. Usually a type of movie I don't enjoy, families that are just at each other's throats, but good direction
I
there.
could see that about you. Yeah, after we did our
But
episode.
I loved the authentic connections that are repaired and formed in Secrets and Lies. I'm with you, Kieran. I think for Best Director, I expect something a little flashier. It's more of an actor's movie, but really resonated with me. Loved, 3 of the big performances were nominees for me. So yeah, those are where I'm sitting at.
I had Jerry Maguire as my 6th place, just for the record there.
Okay, well, I'll get to mine, and then Britt, you're going to close us out on Best Picture.
Great. That's also stressful.
Well, at least you don't have to worry about the English patient missing social media because we've got 2 Fargos. So
Great.
Whatever you throw out there, everything's going to be.
I was really worried about the English patient.
I know
God
you were.
damn it.
I mean, I was.
Hey, at least we got a Ray Fiennes in there, so English patient is fine. It's got a little bit of love.
And Juliet's gonna.
That's
hang in there
true.
too. Yeah,
That's true.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here are my 5 nominees for Best Picture 96. I've got Breaking the Waves. I've got Crash. I've got Fargo. I've got Scream. And I've got Trainspotting. So my 5 films align exactly with my directors, which isn't always the case, but it can tend to be. I think this particular year, it just happened to go that way. Tried to cover some different genres, different styles with those 5 movies. I'm really happy with the 5 I got on there. Again, like I've mentioned on previous categories, on pre-prep, I was certain one thing was going to be the clear defined winner. And after a rewatch, I had a complete flip. It came down to Fargo and Trainspotting, which I think are the 2 defining, culturally impactful movies of 1996. Though Fargo is written, acted, and directed with one-of-a-kind specificity, I think Trainspotting captured a moment in time for that generation in 1996. The way they dealt with the transformation from being youthful to coming of age, dealing with adulthood, growing up. There's something about Trainspotting that hit me on this rewatch at almost 40 years old where it just felt different to me. And I think Trainspotting is the most defining movie of that year. As much as I love Fargo, and I think Fargo holds up incredibly well, they're neck and neck. I just think the Trainspotting captures that moment in time, 1996, a little stronger, and so it was going to be my pick. So that's where I'm at. And Britt, close us out for Best Picture.
All right. So my choices for Best Picture are Fargo, Irma Vep, Lilies, Scream, and Waiting for Guffman. That is my favorite film of the year. I'm not even kidding. I freaking love Waiting for Guffman. And also, comedies don't get enough love at the Oscars in general, probably because most of them are bad. But that's neither here nor there because I'm not going to be on my own island today. I am going to be on the Fargo Island. 100% Fargo is the best film of the year. It has incredible staying power. It has the best cast, I would say, I've seen in a while. Everybody is in the same film. The direction is perfect. It is also a crisp, 93 minutes? It might be the perfect film. I know before I said that previously, I said that, that movie was the perfect film, but I think Fargo actually might be the perfect film. So going with Fargo.
Awesome.
If it wasn't Fargo, Britt, what was number 2 for you?
Oh, Waiting for Guffman, 100%. I love Waiting for Guffman so much. I think it's so perfect. Waiting for Guffman was there. Lily's was there for me. I guess I'll go into it a little bit here. Lily's is a film about a priest in 1952 who goes to get the confession of a friend of his who has been in jail since they were 18 years old. And his friend is putting on a play of their life together. And so it goes back and forth between present day and the past, but everybody who is in the jail plays the other characters. So it's very Shakespearean that men are portraying the women in life. And it's just like watching a piece of art. It is so beautiful and I loved it. And I was looking for more queer movies, and this is a very queer film and it made me happy, and I think everybody should watch it. There was no way it was going to win, but I was like, maybe one day, maybe I'll put it up there just to be that brat. But yeah, it's really, really good. I love it. That one, and everyone knows Waiting for Guffman. It's great.
Yeah, you definitely drew some movies into my vortex that I've got on the watch list now, so I appreciate that. I'm going to try to get to Lily's. I'm going to try to get to some of the other stuff that you've thrown out there for me. Something that I can always count on from you. Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
I just find the movies I'm not supposed to watch, and that's what I bring.
I'm going to send people unnecessarily to your social media page, so I apologize for that. But if you're ever just looking for a recommend on a random movie, reach out to Britt.
Weird recommend.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird, I promise.
She'll throw some stuff.
Don't reach out to Joey R. because he'll ruin your day.
He will probably make you cry.
Confirmed.
He'll just give you Antichrist, which I might also give you, but only if you have very specific instructions for what you want to watch.
Lars von Trier, he just comes around and goes around. Okay, well, we've only got 3 movies that are going to show up on the social media poll, but I think they are probably the 3 movies that deserve to be there. So I'm happy they're the 3 we're going to be talking about. You can go with The Academy, The English Patient, the actual Best Picture winner that year.
Solid
you
choice.
Can go with
it's really good.
Strong choice.
Definitely.
Very good movie. I'm on the island this time for Best Picture. I've got Trainspotting, and then Kieran, Myke, Britt all together with the Coen brothers. They've got Fargo for Best Picture. Love that category right there. All right, y'all ready for some listener questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
All right. Well, we had 2 Scream-specific questions, so I'll just kind of read them back to back, and we'll dive into Scream. Adam from Movie Archer asked us, is Scream the prime example of a single film genre rejuvenation? And Kevin Scanlon over on Instagram asked us, what's your favorite film from 96 and why is it Scream? So Britt, I'll go to you first. Is this movie the prime example of a single film genre rejuvenation? And then you've already kind of answered it, but what's your favorite film of 96?
So first off, I would say for horror in the United States, yes, I do believe that Scream is probably the prime example of genre rejuvenation. I think there are many examples in other places. I would even say Tetsuo the Iron Man it rejuvenated basically all of Japanese filmmaking in 1989. So it's difficult to say that it was the only one that's rejuvenated the horror genre, but in Western films, yes, I would absolutely say Scream is up there. So many things have just come from Scream. Wes Anderson was a genre starter. He was a genre commentator. He did so much ahead of his time. I mean, we all need to go back and watch Scream 4 again and give him the love that he deserves for that film. It's so good and so ahead of its time. Absolutely love it. And yes, Scream is 100% my favorite film of 1996. I used to watch it. I think I was 7 when Scream came out. 7 or 8, and I used to watch it at my cousin's house all the time. I had like the boots that Ghostface wore, the Doc Martens, because I love them. I was obsessed with it. I watched it all the time. I still watch it all the time. It is a film that I would say is up there with The Exorcist in giving me a gateway into horror, which has become my genre of choice. I read books about horror. I research it. It is my thing. So 100% Scream is the most important movie in 1996 for me.
Britt, I do this all the time too. This very episode I called a Rachmaninoff, the Romanovsky or whatever. You just put a great image in my head of Wes Anderson's Scream 4.
Oh my God. Wes Craven. Yes, Wes Craven's Scream 4. I'm sorry.
Mike,
It's late.
I wasn't gonna. I don't want to do the correcting thing, but I
No.
also don't want someone to
please do.
accidentally watch a Wes Anderson movie.
No.
Zero
It is
Side.
Wes Craven.
Don't.
I do
That's
apologize.
the real horror. That's the real horror.
These questions are coming out of nowhere. I didn't write down my answers. I've told Andrew this before. I usually always write things down so that I know exactly what I'm saying because thoughts go through my head far too quickly. It is Wes Craven. We all know that. Again, whatever.
Wonderfully said, Britt. I mean, all of that is I'm
Other than the Wes
1,000%.
Anderson.
1,000% agree with all of it. And we're like buddies with the Scream 4. Scream 4 is so underrated.
It's so
love
good.
It is great. I love it.
So good.
I'll just as far as the question goes, yes, but horror has a way of reinventing itself. It always has. When you take it from the early silent days of the vampires and the Nosferatus of it all through through the Universal monster movies into the Vincent Price era, into like the Hammer horror and the slasher, into 90s, into the Saw Hostel era. Like their horror has a way of just kind of, it's a self-sustaining economy somehow. And I'll give all the credit in the world to Scream, but I tip my cap to the horror genre for finding its own ways to reinvent itself and having different visionaries and auteurs finding their way through it.
Yeah, I'll just say, I'm going to turn it over to Mike here in a second. I'll just say this sort of feels like the gateway horror film for a lot of people, probably relatively in our age range, where I would have been 11 at the time Scream came out. I didn't see it at 11, but it wasn't too far long after. And this probably kind of triggered me to go back and check out Wes's earlier works. I probably saw this before I saw Nightmare on Elm Street and kind of went backwards in that direction. So I can see Scream sort of being the catalyst for a lot of people going and checking out older horror films. So I think the fundamental question rings true. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, short answer, yes. There's a couple things knocking around. I think horror has gotten a similar shot in the arm this past decade with things like Hereditary and Get Out, which have lent horror that more prestigious air, make it something like awards caliber now. But like Scream, definitely a huge shot in the arm. Other things that just come to mind definitely didn't have the same impact. As a Western lover, I wish something had this much impact, something like Unforgiven. Or I even remember the 310 to Yuma remake. People were saying Westerns are back, and those kind of fizzle out. Lord of the Rings did a lot to legitimize fantasy.
Yes.
The problem is like nothing really got back on that level again, but people were significantly more invested in fantasy, where that was a genre that was really ostracized. And my last one, now there's a problem here because this is not technically a genre, but I just have to throw out my Disney love. What The Little Mermaid did for animation. Animation is not a genre, it's an art form, but what that did, the world would look massively different today if The Little Mermaid hadn't done what it did.
Well said.
That's a great shout.
And
Absolutely.
And Beauty and the Beast, you got to tip your cap to too. So that's
breaking
through.
I'm a Beauty and the Beast guy.
Yeah, and that, but just that breaking through with like being nominated for Best Picture in the 5 movie era, that's just like, whoa.
Well-deserved nomination, in my opinion.
And you know what?
So good.
Yes.
And you know what? This upcoming year, when a voice actor gets nominated for Best Actor or Actress, I'll just eat crow and I'll bow down to Britt and just say, you know what? You were right. I was wrong. There it is.
Thank you very much. It's never going to happen, but I appreciate it. I'm gonna stick up for the underdog. I can't help myself. I like to cause drama, I guess.
Love it.
Chris Pratt's going to get his animation nomination.
Absolutely not. I will revolt. I will revolt. Are you freaking kidding me?
That's
I had
that's
to
going to
poke
be
a
your
little bit.
catch-22. How far are you willing to fight for the cause?
And then I would say, well, I guess I wash my hands of this. I don't like animation that much. Oh, God. That is like my worst nightmare right there.
Good luck sleeping tonight, Britt. You'll be thinking about Chris Pratt
Really?
Garfield all night. Yeah.
God, how dare you? I don't even think that my little Zelda game can help me forget that. Or that I said Wes Anderson instead of Wes Craven.
I'm here for the Wes Anderson Scream project.
I mean, no, you don't have to apologize. That
see
was
it.
me being an idiot. You're totally fine.
Did Wes Anderson reinvent horror? It seems he may have.
Maybe. There's a good chance.
It's in my nightmares.
Okay.
Maybe he should, though. Maybe Wes Anderson should go to horror. Maybe
Now
he-
that,
right?
now
cool.
that I'm there
That'd be
for.
cool. I think-
now we're talking.
I think his next project, I did remember seeing, he's taking sort of a thriller horror turn.
Cool.
I don't know if
That
I want
I'm
a
here for.
thriller. I want him to do like something goes wrong in a haunted house, like a legit like haunted house that somebody's putting on. Like that's what I want. I want Wes Craven's haunted house movie.
Love it.
Off
Wes
the top of my-
Anderson's?
God damn it!
If you get Wes Craven's haunted house
It's-
movie
look.
nowadays, that's something.
You know what?
There's
I
it's
don't
four
care.
of us. It's really hard.
It's
the pace
hard.
is going.
Life
it's
is
totally
hard.
understandable.
You know, it's
Again,
okay. The
I
other
called
day,
Rachmaninoff Romanovsky.
it's okay. On 1001 by 1, I was talking about Maggie Chung, and I kept saying Connie Chung. Finally, Joey was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, I meant Maggie Chung. My mind is going quicker than my mouth can handle. Whoops. So this is a common occurrence. That's why I write everything down. Oh, goodness me.
I personally want Wes Craven to rise from the dead
Me
and
too.
direct a coming of age story starring Jason Schwartzman that uses every color, every crayon in the 64 Crayola box.
Absolutely.
to
Lots of
make the film.
pastels.
Yes, please.
Tis the season.
Great. You got a lot of content, Andrew. You're welcome.
Yeah, we're only on question 1 here. My
Mm-hmm.
goodness. Keep the drinks flowing. All right.
Hey,
Okay,
I'm
well-
drinking water too. Water and a beer. It's fine.
All right, our next question is from the resident question queen, Heather Stewart. She refuses to relinquish her power. Brought plenty more questions to the table. First one, you can just give me a hand raise if you did or not. Did anyone watch Trainspotting with subtitles on? No, Britt. Okay, well, I'll say I'm an old man with kids, so I watch everything with subtitles on nowadays.
Same
That's
here.
just the way it goes.
I watch
Other
it-
than the old and the kids part, I watch everything on subtitles.
Other than all the bad stuff, I just enjoy the subtitles.
I watch a lot of stuff with subtitles, but this I did not need subtitles for. I was fine.
I don't know if there's any going back now for, like, I'm in the subtitle world and I'm just content with it.
Well,
Yeah,
I
same
mean,
here.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. I did see that question. I was like, I'm gonna see if I need them, and then I was watching the film and I was like, I'm fine. It's okay.
I didn't need them, but like I definitely appreciate having them nowadays, especially with the nature of what we all do in podcasting. Like we're like minutely scrubbing scenes, and it just helps to like catch all the dialogue and the little
Fair.
stuff here and
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And with these British films, and I and I gotta say, my ancestors are British, so if I've offended any British people here today, that's just like,
They're
I'm
fine. I
in the
promise. I'm
tree.
speaking
I'm
in
in the
proxy.
tree.
They're okay.
But I went through the David Lean filmography, and those early ones, if I didn't have subtitles, I just wouldn't know what was going on. Like, it would be like watching just a German movie. Like it's like,
It's-
okay, this is
It's really funny. My husband and I tried to watch the first episode of True Detective, and we had to put subtitles on for him because he could not understand the accents. So for him, like a really intense Southern accent, he's like, "This is not for me. I can't understand it."
So Matthew McConaughey is the
Yes,
antithesis of a David Lean Cockney English actor.
Apparently.
I got it.
Yes,
I got it. All right.
absolutely.
That makes complete sense to me.
does my
actually.
husband try to do a Matthew McConaughey accent? Absolutely. His impression is not great, but fine.
Can we get him in the room? Really
Absolutely
quickly to
not. Are
pull
you
it off?
joking me?
all right.
I think if I went back and asked him, he would go, what are you doing? And just continue on with his day.
For another time, I suppose.
No, one time I was like, would you ever come on a podcast? And he was like, no. And just that was it. That was end of conversation. He's done.
All right, well, we have another from Heather. She brought a Fargo question to the table and said, Marge and Norm are the most wholesome couple, and I love them. What other wholesome movie couples come to mind? I sent you all these questions, which I think was a good thing, so you could kind of prep for these. Myke, anyone come to mind for you, wholesome couples?
Clearly, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton from
Obviously. They're so wholesome.
So I have this exact same, thank you, Heather. I have this exact same thing. Half of the Fargo episode on my podcast is about how much I love the example Norm and Marge set for any relationship. I'm a big fan of Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert, and It Happened One Night. There's some tension there, but there is a playfulness that's another just perfect movie, well deserving of making the big sweep at the Oscars. They're my usual go-to. As much of a Beauty and the Beast guy as I am in the Disney canon, I'm a little more into the Ariel Prince Eric relationship. They're kind of like the only Disney couple that actually like date and kind of get to know each other and cut through the bullcrap before they like tie the knot. So they'd be like my other go-to.
I would also say Flynn and Rapunzel in the Disney canon. I
Very
feel
good.
like I'm a Rapunzel girl. She's my Disney princess, 100%. That's if I'm very sick, I watch Rapunzel. It's my thing. So that I would say those two. I also would go with the parents from Paddington and Paddington 2.
Oh, great answer.
Yeah.
They're so lovely.
All
they're
the Browns.
God, they're just so nice. Like the kids are great. The parents are great. They're doing everything they can for Paddington. I don't like trilogies, but I'm excited for Paddington 3. I hope the Browns are in it. So that's who I thought of.
That's an awesome.
Paddington's going to cause so much mischief in Peru.
I know, and everyone's going to love it and love having marmalade sandwiches. I've never wanted a marmalade sandwich more than when I was watching that film. And then after it, I don't want it again because I don't like jam or jelly or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm good.
Kieran, what about you? Any wholesome couples?
Sure. I'm going to go for the either end of the spectrum here. I'm going to go for Eternity, and I'm going to go for the best one-night stand in the history of film. And I'm going to go, as we'll start with Eternity, and that will be Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin in Beetlejuice, the most wholesome couple in movie history. They're in it for life and the afterlife. Keep your hands on the handbook. And the greatest one-night stand and the most wholesome one-night stand in the history of film, and that would be Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn in The Terminator. Just the eternity of that
Very
one
nice.
night of is as wholesome as it gets. They literally save humanity by conceiving. So,
Kieran, I love The Terminator so much. I appreciate that. That is, I'm so envious I didn't think of it, but thank you for saying it because I watch The Terminator maybe more than once a year. Like,
it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's the greatest love story ever told. So,
it's so good.
It wouldn't be a podcast if Kieran didn't drop The Terminator.
Fair.
Perfect.
I'm a fan of the director's cut of T2. My favorite thing about it is the scene where Michael Biehn comes back to her.
Oh, I didn't know that existed.
That's the best.
You gotta watch that.
Oh, go watch
scene.
it. There's a director's cut of T2.
Good.
More stuff is added. There's a lot of good stuff on John and the Terminator. The best scene is she sees Kyle Reese again.
I guess as someone who covered that movie on a podcast, I shouldn't say I didn't know that existed, but
no, that's okay. You were just
I had the Blu-ray. Okay, I'm on it.
Andrew, I want you to do this, but I did have one I forgot. So if it can come back to me before we're done, I have one more.
Jump in. Who do you got?
For my second favorite movie of all time, George and Mary Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's good. 4 came to mind, so I'll shout out all 4 of them. First one, the obvious one to me, is Carl and Ellie from Up.
Oh, yes, of course.
That goddamn scene just destroys me. I mean, that is such a wholesome but devastating scene. A recent film, Past Lives, just came out in the last couple of years. I really like the Nora and Arthur couple dynamic, where like he's not like the jealous husband that always gets portrayed in movies. I just appreciate those two. Tying into this episode with Emily Watson, I love Emily Watson and Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love. I find them to be a really wholesome and quirky couple. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the obvious best answer, which is Batman and Robin, specifically George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell and Joel
Obviously.
Schumacher's. All they want to do is just hang out, put
What
bat
were we
nipples on, spend the
thinking?
bat card. Those guys just want to hang and bro out. So Batman and Robin.
Well, and also
There's-
like Wes Anderson and Wes Craven, right? They're interchangeable. Those two, just a
Yeah.
wholesome couple, right there.
Exactly.
This is making me think there's so many good just relationship examples. It's so nice when characters in movies like each other and want to be together, not like fly out to
Yeah.
the desert and just like ruin a relationship over nothing and like try to kill each other in plane crashes. Like that would be stupid.
Careful, Mike. Careful.
Stupid, but entertaining to watch, right?
Mm.
Just kidding.
It,
Very
it
sad.
hasn't
I
come up. I'm
cried.
gonna say I'm definitely lowest on English Patient out of the four, but I went into this from hating English Patient. I think it's a good movie. It's not a
Fair.
great movie.
Oh, okay, so you reevaluated
So,
a bit yourself. So that's
I reevaluated. I don't hate it as much anymore.
it's a hang. It's its own hang. You gotta be invested.
Yeah.
You gotta step into the world.
I feel like there's such a stigma
Yeah.
around it. People are like, they hate on the English Patient all the time.
Yes,
So I kind
yes.
of just fed into that. So when I went into it, I was like, I'm going to hate this movie so much. And then I cried. So
I've sincerely wondered if Seinfeld never existed, if the discourse would be significantly different.
it's kind of like
100%.
Sideways, like Merlot and Sideways, right? Like when
Yeah.
something gets into the zeitgeist, it just becomes a thing.
Yeah,
Dang.
totally agree. Seinfeld killed the English Patient for a whole generation of people.
And Elaine's not wrong. Like she's not wrong. Like,
Thank you.
That's like that's a valid take. Like I get it. I don't share the take, but like yeah, if everyone loves it and I get that one view. It's like just die already.
All right, well, another one from Heather is she said the Academy used to nominate the main male or female character in the lead, even if it was more of a supporting role. We've talked about category manipulation throughout this. She said things seem to have changed in past years. Do we think Frances McDormand would be nominated in supporting or lead if Fargo were to come out in 2024? I would contend still lead.
I agree.
Yeah. For everything we talked about in that
Yeah.
category, I think she'd still be there.
Agreed. I do want to take this opportunity on this question to just say I think two of the biggest category frauds that I can possibly think of. One of them is Fargo. How William H. Macy's supporting. We kind of just moved past that, but like he's like first build. Like how is he supporting?
So
Like,
I think what it is it's such an ensemble piece, and the person that brings them all together is Frances McDormand, right? Like she's the person that's kind of going through everybody's story. She's the person that ends up in everybody's story. So that's how she is the lead and everybody else is the supporting. That's how I saw it myself, because I struggled with that as well.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
And the other one that always drives me insane, I brought this up on multiple podcasts, is Running on Empty with River Phoenix. Like literally the entire movie is about him. He's on screen the entire time. And because he's a kid, he's supporting. I just don't.
That's really
I just don't
frustrating.
get that. Like what? Like you have to be an adult.
dumb.
You have to be this high to ride the ride.
You must be this high to get a lead actor.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, those two have always driven me insane, though. Like they're the narrative. But I don't
I wonder if you stand with me then, Kieran. I just recently revisited The Sixth Sense, and I contend Haley Joel Osment is a lead actor.
Yeah.
I disagree. I'll disagree on that one. Just because it's the movie is about Bruce Willis's plight. Like
Okay.
Like Catalyst is Haley Joel, and but we follow Bruce the whole movie, and the movie's about his self-revelation. So I kind of view Haley more as the reactor than the reactive.
That makes sense. I have them both as lead in my personal assessment of that particular movie, but I just think that all too often young actors, kids, just get lumped into supporting, and it's just
Totally
weird for them.
Yeah.
I also think it's very dangerous for kids to be nominated for anything, because that puts so much pressure on them in life. Just
See,
it's wild.
See Tatum O'Neal.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
Exhibit
so
A.
true. It's kind of wild. I remember back when Little Miss Sunshine was being nominated for everything, and Alan Arkin said that he didn't want Abigail Breslin to win because he was like, that's too much pressure for a kid. What are you talking about? Like, he's like, I love her. I think she's really talented. I don't want her to win. And at the time I was like, oh, that seems real rude. And now I'm like, no, he was right. Like, that's a lot of pressure on a kid. It's a lot of pressure on an adult. Like, how can we expect somebody to be able to function when their brain hasn't finished growing and developing?
Yeah, there's an alternate universe where Tatum O'Neal is one of the best actresses who've ever lived, and life got in the way. It's very sad.
It's extremely sad.
All right. Well, transitioning over to our next question, unfortunately, is we're gonna rank '90s Ed Harris in a control room performances. We've got Apollo 13, we've got The Rock, and we've got The Truman Show. I'll just throw mine out really quickly. Apollo 13, number one. I'm strictly talking about Ed Harris, not the movie in totality. Okay. Apollo 13, Truman Show at 2, The Rock at 3. I think Ed Harris as the mission control guy in Apollo 13 is remarkable, and I like him quite a bit in Truman Show. Feel free to jump in, anyone.
I'll go next. I have The Rock, number 1, 100%. The Rock Forever. It's a great film. Number 2, The Truman Show. He's fantastic in that. Number 3, I don't really like Apollo 13 because I don't like space. So that's where I'm going.
Oh, next, because I have the same exact rankings.
Yeah.
To me, The Rock is the definitive Ed Harris. Like, that's my relationship with him. I actually would sneak, it's not 90s, but I would sneak Beautiful Mind in as my second Ed Harris, because I love him. I always picture him with the hat and the trench coat. But yeah, no, I mean, he's nominated in Truman Show and wonderful in it, and I like him a lot. In Houston, we'll have a problem, but yeah, but that's my ranking too, Britt. I'm on the same page.
We can agree on something, Kieran.
Yes, we're getting it. We're getting it.
Rank just the Ed Harris in the control room angle, not the entire movie. So I would actually put Truman Show number 1, the amount of control. Then I'm going Apollo 13. Last would be The Rock, but The Rock freaking rules. I really wanted Sean Connery in supporting actor. The Rock just rules, and I want Criterion to get the rights back to upgrade that DVD to a 4K.
I would buy it in 2 seconds. And I only buy animated films that are in foreign languages that I can't find. And I would buy The Rock in 2 seconds.
Sweet.
Like, so good.
All right. Well, our next question is a standard pre-2009 question. So the question is, what 5 other films do we think the Academy would have nominated if 1996 had been a year of 10 Best Picture nominees? This one, again, I'm glad we kind of threw this out. Hopefully you all had a chance to maybe ponder on it. I'll throw my 5 out really quickly. I think there's 3 easy answers, and then 2 were a little tougher. The first one is People vs. Larry Flint. It got a director and an actor nomination that year, so I think it would have landed in there. Sling Blade got an actor nomination and 1 adapted screenplay, so I think it would have gotten in. Trainspotting was in adapted screenplay, so I think it would have gotten in. The 2 on the bubbles for me, I'm going to say Lone Star, which was the only original screenplay nominee not to be Best Picture nominated. And then I'm going to say The Crucible, because it had a Best Supporting Actress and an adapted screenplay nomination. Those are my 5. Mike, what about you? Or Kieran?
Yeah, let me bounce on that, because I actually disagree with you on Trainspotting. I think that movie was too offensive to get the nomination at that time. I don't know. I think there was a flagrant nature of that I don't think would again. I agree with you on Sling Blade, and I think The Birdcage might have snuck in. I feel like that's one that they could casually put in there. They feel like we're switching up genres a little bit. I wouldn't rule out Hamlet. Hamlet is very Oscar-y. I like your take on Crucible. That feels like at that time they'd kind of slide that one in a bit. I don't think Lone Star. I think Lone Star and Trainspotting both feel like at that time screenplay and don't touch them things. So
it makes sense.
Yeah. Could have Ghosts of Mississippi kind of been the one in there that they kind of snuck in, and I don't know. But I think you're pretty well on point there with that, though, Andrew.
This is not my forte, so that sounds good. Let's do that. I would say maybe Breaking the Waves, just to be unique.
In the mix too, yeah.
Like it, and it also genuinely is such a. It is an incredible film with incredible performances that are very difficult. So they might be like, "Here's a difficult watch for you. We're putting it in there." But other than that, this is. I have said before, this is not my forte. I'm not an Oscars girl, so
I'm very much an Oscars girl. I don't really have anything else to add, though. Like I think that's like Larry Flint and Sling Blade, like for sure. I think Hamlet's tempting. That seems right up their alley, but like they didn't give it any love anywhere else. But let's throw it in there for the sake
sometimes
of it.
they do
I
that,
think
right?
Lone Star might sneak in at 10. Yeah, I think Lone Star has enough like social commentary on America that they would maybe throw it in. But yeah, also Crucible is pretty tempting as like it's based off this respected play from the McCarthy era. So I'll go with those.
They gave like Arthur Miller and a posthumous Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
Don't put it past them to totally duff this and put a Marvin's Room in there too, though. Like
100%.
They totally could do that.
Or The Mirror.
They wouldn't do that. Good Lord, help us. No.
They might though, right?
So you say that.
No.
It
That
would
was
win.
a Lauren Bacall. Lauren Bacall is the reason we all had to watch that movie. May she rest in peace.
God damn it, Lauren Bacall.
May us all rest tonight after having seen it.
And now, thanks to this episode, The Mirror has no Oscar nominations.
Oh, such a tragedy.
It still has two faces, though. So.
She almost won that Oscar.
And they're both sad.
She almost won that Oscar.
Yeah,
We
when
do need to
Binoche
say
got
that,
up to
like-
when Binoche got up, she specifically said Lauren Bacall should have won the Oscar for that. So.
That's such bullshit. I really don't like that. I don't like people getting up there and being like, this person should have won. It's like, no. Just embrace it. And it's very hard to embrace something like that, right? But also that makes me really upset because I didn't give it to Juliette Binoche, but she's incredible. She's absolutely incredible.
I do want to clarify it is that she said I thought Lauren was going to win. I don't think she said I did. She say Lauren should win? She's like, I thought Lauren was going to win. Like it was
okay, good because I was like, no. Just it's hard to take things as a woman, anyways. Like we always have to be humble. So appreciate it and be the badass bitch you are. Thank you very much.
That was a rookie on the veteran scene saying I had no idea that they'd give it to a young actress kind of thing.
A young French actress.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a couple of comments, less questions here for a moment.
The
So
loaded Twitter comments. Love
Yes.
quoting RDB. There it is.
Locked and loaded. So first one is from Heather, specifically talking about the movie Sleepers, which none of us have referenced at any point. She said it's maybe one of the few, possibly the only movies she prefers in the German dub, simply because of how wooden Jason Patrick is. That's pretty brutal. Any Sleepers feedback from you all? I don't find the movie to be particularly interesting. I've seen it a few times, but it's just not in my wheelhouse.
I didn't even watch it.
Britt, do you want to go?
I just thought it was boring. I thought it would be right up my alley, and I was very unimpressed with it.
Cool. Y'all are getting me real excited for my next statement. I specifically did not watch this because this will be Best Picture Cast's Thanksgiving episode this year.
Oh, great.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Maybe you'll like
bring
it.
your pillows. We're covering Sleepers.
I can't wait to listen.
Yes. So we normally cover Stephen King movies on Thanksgiving at Best Picture Cast, but one of our co-hosts who's there every Thanksgiving has like not realized that he's recommended Sleepers every Thanksgiving. And me and Joey laugh out loud every time he does it. We're like, dude, like this is the third time you've done this. And last year we covered Apt Pupil, which stars.
Oh my goodness!
Yes. Oh yeah. It stars the late actor in that who's also in Sleepers. So we're doing Sleepers. We're like, all right, that's it. It's a destiny that has become upon us. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Come get your turkey, get your gravy, your potatoes, and your pillows, and we're gonna cover Sleepers. I've never seen it to this day.
Oh,
maybe watch it in
First
German.
watch. Maybe I'll watch it in German. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get over to Sarah Shea, one of our great friends over at Shea Cinema. She had a statement that I figured I'd read and let the group weigh in on. She said she just wants someone to actually watch all 4 hours of Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet and recognize it as a true masterpiece. I'm not that person. I'll let somebody else be that person. Myke, potentially.
Look, everybody vote for Derek. Vote for Derek Jacobi. He's great. No, I really like it. I watched it senior year AP English. Like the thing that's like great about it is also the thing that kind of sucks about it. That it's like it's the whole text. It's every
Yeah.
single line Shakespeare wrote for Hamlet. It's the entire thing. Nothing's cut out. And there's something about that that's really cool and gutsy. And like I mentioned in my supporting actor, like that gives the story room to breathe and be seen in a different way. But that is a 4-hour movie. I really like it. It's my favorite Hamlet, but it's a commitment for something that you freaking know what you're getting into, and you gotta white knuckle it through some of it. So it was on my short list of best picture, potentially even director and lead actor. So I really like it, but I blame nobody who says no thanks.
I would say slide into Adam St. John's DMs because I think he's waiting for someone to do that about 1996's Hamlet. He checks them every day. Has anyone checked in about? No, they haven't yet. Okay, but yes, no, he would love to talk to you about that.
And that tag will be in the description below, so check it out.
I've said this before on my on 1001 by one, but I don't really think that stage plays translate to film very well all of the time. And I think that there's something really beautiful about watching Shakespeare live, especially people who know how to speak Shakespearean language. And so like when I saw the Shakespeare that was 4 hours long at the RSC, I discovered things in the text that I had never experienced. And I did theater. Like I studied theater in college, so I've studied Shakespeare. And when he said, like comparing me to my father is like comparing me to Hercules, it was a balding redheaded man who was playing this character. And I was like, oh, I did not expect him to be like a 40-year-old balding man. And it was perfect. It was incredible. And I think there's something really unique about seeing it live. So I have a really hard time watching Shakespeare on screen. It's just, it doesn't hit the same way. So I couldn't bring myself to watch a 4-hour film because I knew I just don't think I would enjoy it as much.
Totally
personally.
fair.
Sorry.
I also have a hard time watching Shakespeare on screen.
It's just
for
most people
many
don't.
other reasons.
That's fair. It's also kind of boring. Like maybe it should be cut. And
Yeah,
I think
I'm very much not in the Shakespeare camp.
It's not that I'm not in the Shakespeare camp. I just think that editing is a thing. It should be done.
It is. Well, that's my island for the episode. Me and Bill.
I'll send all of Sarah Shea's wonderful Shakespearean DMs your way, Myke.
That's great company to be in. I love it.
And to Adam.
And to Adam, yes. All right, well, we got a couple of questions from Movie the Needle podcast on Instagram. First question from Movie the Needle is there a catchier, more earworm-worthy song in cinema than That Thing You Do? Simple answer, no. I think it's been 30 years and I haven't gotten tired of that song, which is really strange. It shouldn't work, but it does for me.
It's a masterpiece of a song. I came in with no nominations for That Thing You Do and thought that I was going to be this big bad heel, and no one brought it up, so I feel a little better. But I mean, because it's a wonderful movie, but doesn't quite work. Maybe in a 10 Oscar with my pick, I'd slide it in there. No, it's a great song, and it's a travesty that it didn't win for original song. I mean, did anyone watch Evita for this?
God,
Evita,
no.
Hell no.
Is Evita even available to the public these days?
It probably is. I'm sure that Madonna's like, we should put Evita on every platform. Everybody wants to watch Evita. I would never watch that trash again.
That's up there with one of the worst wins ever. Beating That Thing You Do for that song. That's bad.
You Must Love Me is a beautiful song. I will be honest. Like I've been in Evita. I was the mistress in Evita, so I came on to sing one song and then left. But I got arguably the best song in the whole movie, or in the whole play. But that song is a really great song. Because it's been added into the musical, so it's beautiful to watch and it is very moving. But I don't think it deserved the win. I mean, as much as I love Andrew Lloyd Webber, no.
Now, a better question, though, is which song by the same songwriter is better? That Thing You Do or Stacy's Mom?
I'm gonna go with that thing you do
Yeah, I agree.
just
I
by
agree.
a
Oh,
margin.
I'm
yeah.
going Stacy's Mom 100%.
I mean, it's playing in all the bars still every
it's
weekend.
so
you know?
good.
Yeah.
I actually
I'll go,
oh, go for it. No.
I'll go
Schlesinger,
Stacy's
though,
Mom
may
because
rest
that's
in
the
peace.
one I enjoy playing slightly more. But they're both so.
There's a version called Stacy's Dad. It's really funny, and I really want to do a burlesque routine to Stacy's Dad and have my husband come out and just sit on the stage as like a dad reading the paper in some tivas. We have a whole thing for it. So maybe that's what it is. Me thinking of the potential of what it could be, saying Stacy's Mom, but
Love that.
One day, Britt.
one day.
All right. Well, the other question we got from Movie the Needle podcast is, which movie from 1996 that hasn't had a reboot or a sequel would you have liked to see happen? So we've had Trainspotting sequel, Scream, Mission Impossible, Twister, Independence Day, the ones that come to mind. I'm going to say Swingers. I would like to see those guys be really pathetic 40-something, 50-year-old men. Just, they all failed in life. I think Swingers would be an interesting and depressing watch to see where those guys fell.
Did you mention that Fargo had a show too?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I
really good.
love Fargo, the show.
Oh, the Fargo series. Who would have thought that there would be a life after Fargo the movie?
Mm.
Billy Bob Thornton is so good in that first season.
So good.
I'd like a Ghosts of Mississippi animated series. No, I'm sorry. This
James Woods
sounds
would
like a
too.
level of sacrilege, but it does feel like The English Patient could work as like a Netflix series.
They have tried to do it as a
Oh, they have?
series. They did, and then it was canceled.
Did it aired and was canceled?
It was never aired. It was like in pre-production, and they just canceled the whole project. But they have tried to bring it as like a series, which I think really would benefit it.
Yeah, it feels like something that could work, and that's honestly like to counteract everything I just said. I did appreciate watching The English Patient this time around and being like, this is something that would normally be a Netflix series, and it's nice that they compounded it into a film, and they don't do that anymore. They kind of they give it a series and they roll with it. Bound maybe is another one, right?
I was thinking
my
that Bound
pick.
too. I want to see them on the road. That would be super great. I also would like to see Waiting for Guffman too, where they all come back for like the 35th anniversary. I think that would be pretty funny. Friggin' Waiting
Mike,
for
you
Guffman
said-
back.
You said Bound was your choice, Mike?
Bound is easily my pick. I want Violet and Corky rolling into a new city and just get caught up in a whole other whirlwind.
All right, next question we got is from Kevin Scanlon over on Instagram, and he asked, of all the years that I've covered on this season so far, where would I rank 1996 among them? You all can certainly weigh in if you want to. I know you've all been on an episode here, an episode there. So you've got 2010, 1998, 1954, 2011, 1981, 1994, 2014, 2015, 1942, and then this year. So I've been all over the history books on this one. I'm not going to run through my whole thing, but I'll say 1996 kind of falls right in the middle for me. Tops was actually the Kieran episode, the pilot episode.
Wow.
2010, I think, is my favorite year top to bottom. I really loved going back and diving into 2010. So I don't know if any of the years that I just mentioned were among your favorites.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
not.
90. You and Britt covered 94. That to me would be number one.
I felt like the movies were less swingy in 96, to be perfectly honest, because I'm just going to go by like the episodes I've been on. But like in 1994, things were so like they were either a great film or it was a piece of crap. And I felt like there was a lot more middle ground here in 96. So I really enjoyed the research for this one, at least.
Mike, you want to weigh in on any of the years? Any that are like just your favorite years in movies?
I got lost after like the fourth year. You said 94 would probably be my pick too.
94 is a good
soft
answer.
spot. Yeah, I've got a soft spot for that last episode you did. 2015, I think, was actually pretty phenomenal. I think there's a couple years in the 2010s. 2010 would be up there. I'm a big 2012 guy. You haven't got there yet, though, so that doesn't qualify. A lot of winners.
I just look at Forrest Gump, Shawshank, Lion King, and Pulp Fiction, and it's like,
Wild.
well, I like all four of those movies more than most movies, so that's good enough for me, you know. And
Easy answer there.
And Four Weddings and a Funeral is fun.
Yeah. Andrew. It is fun.
It's fun. It's a fun movie.
It's fun for some.
And I still haven't seen Quiz Show yet. I can't wait to see that.
Oh man, you got it.
Quiz Show's really good.
You're gonna love it.
Okay, I'm the low on Quiz Show. I think you could pass, but like, listen to them. It's fine.
It's worth it for Ray Fiennes, if nothing else. He's great in it.
I just can't wait for Britt and Joey R to fight over 1996's Crash. Like, I can't wait for you guys to have.
We love having fights, Joey and me. It's our thing. So we will.
Next time he picks on you about anime, just say 1996 Crash sucks.
100% will. Absolutely 100% will.
And if you want to troll him, and you'll have Adam on your side, say that 2005's Crash is better than 1996's Crash. And Adam
I don't know if I like either of those films, so I'm not sure I can actually say that. But any way to troll Joey, I'm happy to do it. Especially because he just loves to tell me how bad my taste is, especially in animated films. And I get it. I like obscure films, but Perfect Blue.
I'm glad that you could not have segued better to my final question, which was actually submitted as a surprise just within the last few hours.
Oh Lord!
And it's from Joey R over at Best Picture Cast and 1001 by One.
Hi, Joey.
And
we've come full circle.
We have come full circle. Here we are. You're gonna love this question. He said Lars von Trier has shown up a few times in the Almanac this season, and he thinks there's no better time than right now for this question. What's your Mount Rushmore of Lars von Trier films?
Rude. That is so rude. I can't wait to do this.
I've only seen 2.
Well, you don't need to see any more than that.
That's kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'll go for Melancholia one day.
Melancholia actually worthwhile to see, I would say. Okay. Breaking the Waves absolutely has to be one of them, I think. I think it's probably his best film. Anybody else want to this one? Or am I just going to do this by myself?
I have mine.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Go. My second one is going to be a little of a subdued F. The third one is going to be a pronounced Your. And then the fourth one is Self. That's my Mount Rushmore for
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, okay, I guess I can say mine would actually be Breaking the Waves, Dancer in the Dark, Antichrist, and Melancholia. But also I think that Kieran's was pretty good too.
It's certainly not the House of Jack built on any level.
I don't
That's a masterpiece.
Horrible.
What are you talking about?
Horrible.
I haven't done this in years, but for a long time, I was ranking movies we covered on CineMusts on Letterboxd. Antichrist, I have always had at the bottom, based on like I'm never watching this again. It is below both Ace Ventura movies and High Society. It's a better movie than those, but it's Antichrist. I don't want to repeat.
You don't need to repeat Antichrist. I mean, I've repeated it a couple of times because I find it cathartic in certain regards, but like that is not a movie you should recommend to anybody, Joey. Don't do that. And also, like, I guess it's the Mount Rushmore, so I gotta put it on there because I like it, but also don't watch it. Maybe don't watch Lars von Trier. He's just going to depress you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Mount Rushmore, but it is what it is.
Andrew's like, I like him, so I'll answer the question appropriately.
You know what? I feel like there are certain aspects.
Hey, man, no
Trier.
one let you hold you back on you. You appreciate the filmmaking, appreciate the filmmaking.
We're
I'm
not
trying to
judging you
belittle
that
anyone's.
harshly.
Yeah, no.
He has 4 very good films, and the rest of them are something. I don't know what they are, but they're something. Melancholia, Breaking the Waves, Dogville, Dancer in the Dark. Again, they're all led by really good female performances, which are what carries the movie. It's not so much Lars, it's more of those really talented women at the center and the forefront.
I would actually argue that Antichrist is better than Dogville, but that's okay. I understand. But Dogville, for some reason, the way that just everything about it feels so misogynistic to me, which is wild.
I can't argue it.
Which is wild considering I'm trying to argue that Antichrist is better. But yeah, no. Interesting. I had a feeling Dogville would end up there, but I watched that and got really mad. But I think
I like Nicole Kidman a lot.
I love Nicole Kidman. I just thought she was better than that.
And there's a really horrible sequel to Dogville.
Yes, there
with,
is.
God, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, man,
Don't
go down that route. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So there you go, Joey. Enjoy your.
Thanks.
He wanted to slip that in at the end. Yeah.
Rude.
He knew what he was doing.
Thanks for yucking our yum, Joey.
Ah, the circle. The circle is full.
Oh,
The
so
circle is
good.
full.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone that submitted questions this month. As always, we do appreciate those. That's going to do it for this recording, but this is only the beginning. We've got our picks made, and it will ultimately be up to you, the fans, to decide what goes into the Almanac as the true winners. We'll be putting up social media polls across 4 platforms in the coming days, and we need your votes to be cast. The more places you follow the page, the more opportunity you have to vote. Before we sign off, I do want to find out what's coming up in the rest of 2024 with the 3 of you. This episode goes up Friday, November 8th. So, Britt, what do you and your 2 cohorts over at 1001 by 1 have on the way?
Oh, we have a lot of stuff coming up. So we have an episode on The Fly, an episode on 2012's Blanca Nieves, which is a silent black and white Spanish film. We have an episode on Laura. We're doing a director ranking of Wong Kar-wai. We have tons of stuff before the end of the year, so please check us out. Plus, we're doing a new series called 1001 by 1 by 3, where we take whatever movie we've decided is interesting that week and discussing it and giving you 3 recommends that goes along with it. So join us, please, wherever you stream your podcasts.
I can only speak for myself, Britt, but I love the new 1001 by 1 by 3 series. I think it's a really cool additional component to the channel. So definitely a nice addition that I dig into. So
glad
thanks
to hear it.
I know you're kind of at the forefront of that. So thanks for bringing that to the table.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it just gives us an opportunity to kind of be a little more off the cuff.
Yep, it's good stuff. All right, well, Kieran, how about you? What should people be looking for from the World of Best Picture cast before the year ends?
Yeah, sure. So we're in November when this is coming out. So you can look back at our back feed and you'll see the 2 tournaments that we ran were both the sub 50 and the horror tournaments. The sub 50 winner was Man on Fire, Tony Scott's Denzel Washington starring that won that. So there'll be an episode on that. That should be already on our feed. And at this time, I don't know who's going to win the horror tournament because it kicks off tomorrow in the date, but it's our condensed tournament that's done by the end of October. So we'll see what goes on with that. I can't wait to see what goes on there, but we'll have an episode of that should be out already. And we've just completed our 5th season. So we have 75 episodes, 75 Best Picture winners. Yeah. English Patient's
incredible.
Yeah, go check out the
amazing.
English Patient episode. Adam St. John from 1001 is on that. You know, he's not kind to the film. But he's on the episode. Yeah,
he just has a lot of opinions.
He does, and he's passionate about him, and we love him and respect him for that. But yeah, I already told you, Thanksgiving, you know, get your turkey, get your relatives and your Lions football, get it all together and listen to the episode of Best Picture Cast on Sleepers, which will be me, myself, Joey R, and Chris G. We do it every Thanksgiving. Our past ones were Shawshank Redemption, Misery. We had one on Apt Pupil, as I said. We do a little Stephen King. There's another one, too, that I'm forgetting. Stand By Me, of course, yes. But Sleepers is in the mix now, so you can check that out. And we're kicking off our next season. Our first 2 episodes talk about Joel and Ethan Coen. Our season premiere will be No Country for Old Men, the Coen brothers win, which in my opinion is a far superior directed film than Fargo. That's just for me. But as far as directorial, I just think there's a grander scope there. But Myke, we'll chat on the side on that. But yeah. But yes. And then the second episode will be a movie that Britt, you and Andrew covered in Forrest Gump. So those will be the first 2 of the season, and those will be the remaining 2 Best Picture winners of 2025. And our Christmas movie, I don't even know. Grant and Joey pick it every year. They throw it on me, and I just got to watch it and do it. So
those are always great episodes.
Yeah, we have fun with them. So yeah, so there's all my massive plugs there. So it's Myke, CineMusts. When are you going to flip the pages, point to a random page, and give me that book? Let me know. I'm ready to go.
When I can get my schedule and crap together enough to deliver more than an episode a month, man.
You're killing it, man. You
chugging
had a great summer. You had a
Still
great
am.
output. I loved your summer.
Don't hold your breath for another one like that. But I'm chugging along. So when this drops, you'll have just missed us. We will have discussed and put to a vote the 2016 horror movie Under the Shadow. I'm very excited. I've never seen of or heard that movie, but we are getting the long-awaited return of my friend David Sandu, who's been our resident horror guy. He has not been on the show in years. So excited to talk about that. We have been working out that episode actually as I've recorded this one. So that is you're the first to know.
I'm
everybody.
so excited. I love that movie.
Britt is
Awesome.
geeking out.
I really am. I truly am. This is ridiculous, but I'm so excited.
You know me. I love when folks pick the unconventional stuff, so I'm excited to explore that. And to round out the year, Yum Yucker himself, Joey R, is going to be talking to us about Joel and Ethan Coen's my fifth favorite of theirs, Inside Llewyn Davis. And Andrew, you're going to be coming on to discuss Children of Men real soon,
Finally.
which I'm also incredibly excited about.
Yeah, super excited for that. Joey stole my Inside Llewyn Davis. I was going for that one, but a Children of Men's a hell of a backup pick. So
Yeah. We'll see who wins.
that's right. Yes, I feel really good about Children of Men. I don't know, Kieran, Britt, you fans of that one?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
That's okay. It's pretty depressing. So like I have to be in the right
It's one of those.
mindset.
It's one of those. I haven't found the mood to watch it yet.
I have a thing with dystopian films. Like I have to really be in the right mindset to be like, yeah, this is happening in the world, so might as well watch something where everything's gone to shit already, right? So I get that. But
I also have a slight Clive Owen allergy, so I just got to take a little lactate or something.
That's
before that
okay.
and watch
I
that.
get it.
You can balance it with Michael Caine playing a stoned hippie, which is
Okay. Well, yeah, that'll be my lactate. That'll be my lactate.
I think he's the performance I don't love in that film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Michael
maybe
Caine
that's-
is a comfort person for me. So that Andrew, you know me. That's good. That's pretty good. I like
do.
that. Yes. Yeah.
I like Michael Caine too. Just maybe not in this film, but that's okay. I have to come in with the hot takes.
I'll keep all my Children of Men thoughts quiet so I can save them for Mike's pod. I'm really looking forward to going on there and doing that one. Well, thank you all three for being here, and look out for the upcoming season finale episode in December. I'm going to be joined by those Duncan boys once again, Tom and Dana from the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast. We're covering the 1967 year in film, which is the year In the Heat of the Night took down Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, and many other films. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, and on and on and on at Rev Almanac. There's going to be timestamps on each category in case you need to go back and listen to a certain part as you think about your vote, as well as links to everything that Britt, Kieran, and Mike are doing on their shows. I hope you check out each of them. They're well worth your time. And if you enjoyed this trio of guests being on the show, you are in luck. They're each going to be back for an episode during Season 2 in 2025. That's going to do it for tonight, and I will see you next time.